double greasy pirate radio Nut Hut Studios, it's time for the very first ever Southern...
CPR Street Gang, this is Almighty. Standing by, over. This is Almighty. Standing by, over.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
when it's really going down, I'm rolling
What's it really about? What genre does it take?
What, like the spine?
The spine.
Like one sentence? Like,
well, I don't fucking Boy Meets Girl. I don't give a shit about that. Fuck Boy Meets Girl. Fuck Motorcycle Movie. No. What is really being said? What's really being said? That's what you're talking about. Because the whole idea, man, is subversion. You want subversion on a massive level. You know what one of the greatest fucking scripts ever written in the history of Hollywood is?
What?
Top Gun.
Oh, come on.
Top Gun is fucking great. What is Top Gun? You think it's a story about a bunch of fighter pilots?
Yeah, it's about a bunch of guys waving their dicks around.
It is a story about a man's struggle with his own homosexuality. That's it. That is what Top Gun is about, man. You've got Maverick, all right? He's on the edge, man. He's right on the fucking line, all right? And you've got Iceman and all his crew.
Right.
They're gay. And they represent the gay man,
right.
All right? And they're saying, go the gay way, go the gay way. He can go both ways.
But not Kelly McGillis, right?
Kelly McGillis, she's heterosexuality. She's saying, no. Go the normal way. Play by the rules, go the normal way. And they're saying, no, go the gay way. Be the gay way. Go for the gay way. Right? That is what's going on throughout that whole movie.
What is this party? Who are these people? They make me sick. What is that? Who are you? Who are you?
who the hell are you?
What is he wearing? It's some kind of, like, dance jumpsuit, freakish little gaucho. Let's go to Spain and dance with our arms over our heads and...
He goes to her house, right? All right. It looks like they're going to have sex. You know, they're just kind of sitting back. He's taking a shower and everything. They don't have sex. He gets on the motorcycle, drives away. She's like, what the fuck is going on here? Next scene you see her. She is in the elevator. She is dressed like a guy. She's got the cap on. She's got the aviator glasses. She's wearing the same jacket that the Iceman wears. She's okay. This is how I gotta get this guy. This guy's going towards the gay way. So I gotta bring him back. I gotta bring him back from the gay way. So I'm gonna do that through subterfuge. I'm gonna dress like a man. All right? That is how she approaches it.
Right.
Okay. But let me just ask you, I'm gonna digress for just 2 seconds here. I met this girl Amy here. She's like floating around here and everything. Yeah, she just got divorced, right?
I saw you on... What was it? I was asking my friend. I can't remember.
At the end, all right, because he has cast open to the gay way. They are the gay fighting fucking force, all right? And they're beating the Russians. The gays are beating the Russians, all right? And it's over, and they fucking land, and Iceman has been trying to get Maverick the entire time. Finally, he's got him, all right? And what is the last fucking line that they have together? They're all hugging and kissing and happy with each other. And Ice comes up to Maverick, and he says, man, you can ride my tail anytime. And what does Maverick say? Maverick, you can ride my sword fight!
It's Wednesday night. Welcome, Clyde Lewis listeners. Just want to let you know, Into the Microcosm is on the air.
so
What the fuck is going on in this country, ladies and gentlemen? Is this the country you grew up in? Is this the country you want to fight for? This is a country where people are about to start coming to your door to ask you questions, man. And they're going to have an iPad in their hand, and they're going to face scan you, and they're going to know who you voted for in the last election. And, maybe you got a red dot next to your name, huh? Well, looks like my thermometer's broken. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to come down to the station and get a thermal check. Oh, you don't want to come outside? You don't want to come outside? That's fine. That's all right. Oh, you're acting a little bit rude to me. I don't like the way you're talking to me with your microaggressions. I think I'm gonna have to call the extraction team. How do you feel about your country? If your country went to war against an enemy, would you sign up to go fight for it? From what I understand, I mean, if I was to believe all the bullshit I hear flying around on the internet, half of the army doesn't define Joe Biden to be the commander-in-chief. So, I mean, are they going to take orders from somebody they don't believe in as the commander-in-chief? Who are they taking orders from? Well, they're waiting for the 24th of August to show up? Keep waiting. You know? That ain't going to happen. But I tell you what is happening. What is happening is we are about to find ourselves in a very, very volatile situation, ladies and gentlemen. Because I don't think a lot of people are going to go away peacefully. They're not going to just lay down at their house and let somebody drag them out. You're going to let your neighbors get dragged out? You and your neighbors, you and your neighbor are friendly, you've been talking, and, you know, you think, you both think, you know, I don't like the looks of this thing, and I'm not going to do it. And now you're both not wearing masks, and, you know, all of a sudden, they say they show up at your neighbor's door, and,
This is America. Don't catch you slipping up. Don't catch you slipping up. Look what I'm whipping up. This is America. Don't catch you slipping up. Don't catch you slipping up. Look what I'm whipping up. This is America. Don't catch you slipping up. Look how I'm living up.
it's America, man. You catch you slipping. It's America.
I got the strap. I gotta carry him. Yeah, I'ma go get this. Yeah, this is gorilla. Yeah, I'ma go get the bag. Yeah, or I'ma get the pad. Yeah, I'm so cool like that. Yeah, I'm so dull like that. We don't know like that.
Sing the microcosm. Soft Mouth FM. It's What the Fuck Wednesday, and this ain't your granddaddy's midnight.
Don't catch you slipping up. Look what I'm whipping up. This is America. Don't catch you slipping up. Don't catch you slipping up.
Steve Coinen, are you that?
What's happening, Jimmy? How you doing?
I'm doing good. You're the people they warned us about. That's what I hear. And guess who else is? I guess who else is here? I see Bruce McDonald there. And I'm coming in hot on my iPad here. Let me get this thing turned on. Bruce McDonald, are you that?
I am here, Jimmy.
Excellent. Well, listen. I mean, there's so much to talk about, and let's just get down to let's get down to brass tacks. There's a lot.
It's like
Go ahead.
It's a Florida buffet of.
It's a Florida buffet.
Seafood included.
Yes, seafood included. But remember, not all fish is sushi, and not all chicken tastes like fish. But I don't know. It depends. If you cook the fish in the same oil as the chicken, then your chicken sometimes can smell like fish and taste like chicken, or vice versa. It all depends, I guess, on your cooking habits. But I'm sitting here in this dark, black Santa Cruz mountains. It's a little bit foggy tonight. It's a little bit cold, I would say. The air conditioning is turned on. The redwoods have sucked in the fog and are holding it tight with the ionic pressure of their deep, penetrating root systems. Deep in the earth. But that's a show for another night. Tonight, there's some interesting news. I mean, there's been news in Santa Cruz Mountains over the past, say year or so that's been a little bit newsworthy, but a lot of people didn't even hear about it. I mean, Steve, did you remember when the Boogaloo Boys up in the mountains there, Boulder Creek, the shootout that happened?
Yeah,
over the summer?
Do we even know if that was if that dude was an actual Boogaloo Boy, or if that was was there a Santa Cruz Mountain chapter, or how did that actually?
Well,
because what I know is that the dude was active duty Air Force. I know that his dad said he was going through a bunch of shit and he was not in the best headspace. I know this because a very good friend of mine lives right off of the road where that whole thing went down. He was stuck at his house after having talked to that dude's dad 2 days before.
Well, it's interesting because I don't know the guy, and I only know what I've heard, so I can apply what I've heard as the story that I've heard, and then you can see what you could see in it and see how much of that is real. Now, so what I heard was that there was some mountain hideaway, and there was a bunch of dudes up there wearing Hawaiian shirts called the Boogaloo Boys, and they had stored a bunch of explosives and weapons on this property, and that these officers had somehow come across it, or they stopped by the house, or something happened, and somebody got shot in the face and died. And so when that happened, they literally, how I even found out about it was I was sitting at my house and I started hearing all these sirens going by. And they didn't stop going by. They were going by.
No, man, they emptied out 2-3 counties worth of vehicles.
Dude, there was
sent them all up to Hubbard Gulch.
Dude, they were coming from San Francisco. I'm not shitting you, because I tuned in to the repeater, okay, and I was listening to the radio transmission, so I knew what was going on before it was on the news. In other words, I knew why those cars were going up there. And they were saying there was officers down, officers were dead, and there was literally, and so this is hours later. I'm taking a ride up to Felton to my local cannabis shop, my retail space where I find my cannabis. I'm on my way up there, and as I'm cruising up, man, these cars keep blowing by me at 100 miles an hour, dude. It's like, and it's like a Toyota Corolla. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know cops were driving undercover Toyota Corollas all beat
Oh,
up.
man, you got to see every UC vehicle in, multiple jurisdictions.
Oh, my.
It was interesting for that, bro. It was.
It was, man.
So let me tell you what happened.
Go ahead.
So there was a van that was parked on Alba Road. Alba Road is one road north of Hubbard Gulch on Highway 9. The van had a cache of weapons in it. So
it was mobile? It was a mobile cache. Hey, whoever, Bruce, is that you? Bruce, could you meet up or whatever? Because I don't know who that is. It's one of us, not me.
It's not me.
Okay, go ahead.
So the van was empty. At that, like, but just weapons there. Car comes up, takes pot shot at the deputy, and then takes off up Hubbard Gulch, leads the cop and another deputy to a trap, opens fire, gets rid of one cop, steals a car, and goes on a chase. Think that dude gets stopped when he tries to steal the second car, but gets stopped by a civilian. Doesn't get stopped by the police and gets sat on by the dude and his pit bull until the cops show up.
Well, see, this was the first time that I'd ever even heard of the Boogaloo Boys is around this story. And then, okay, so let me just hold yourself there for 1 second, because I want to bring another piece into this Santa Cruz connection. Because look, down at the sheriff's down in Watsonville, there was another shooting around the same time frame, and it was also attributed to this group, the Boogaloo Boys, which I've never heard of. But until these two stories cropped up here in Santa Cruz, I mean, I wasn't hearing about it on any of the mainstream. I wasn't hearing any of these mention of this. So I'm just saying the publicizing of this name around these two incidents and around the violence that was going on at the same time as the George Floyd protests were going on, and they were insinuating that somebody was setting themselves up for some sort of a attack. Is the way that they paint. Go ahead.
The I guess propaganda is that they're there to usher in a race war, or are preparing for an inevitable race war. They have like
Is that you now making that noise?
They do wear Hawaiian shirts. And they do like guns. They've shown up to provide like armed security for a number of different groups at a number of different protests.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that there are Fed infiltrator shipbirds. It could be from like conceived as a way to get people who are anti-government and pro-gun. It could be a giant monitoring operation.
Well, all I know is I wear Hawaiian shirts, man. You know, and I enjoy my firearms. You know, so I mean, but I'm not a Boogaloo boy. But I mean, I'm also white. So now I'm white. I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I live in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I like guns. I mean, am I gonna get scooped up in the net?
Because they're gonna look at you and think that's a parrot head. Not that's a Boogaloo, but you would have to have like the tack vest on.
I see. Well, I got these bulletproof hoodies.
Also, you would have to have a gag like a Gadsden flag, but poorly drawn, and it would have to say, instead of "Don't tread on me," "No step on Sneck." And then they would know.
Are you kidding, man? Are you serious?
I'm serious. I'll show you. I will.
No, I believe you. No, I believe you. But it's. I mean, okay. So let me. I'm trying to digest this now. So let me ask you this question now. Now, the next question is, do you know anybody who is affiliated or maybe someone that is a member of this group?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe.
I got a question.
Well, hold on a second.
Just on my show, like Sunday, I think.
Okay, because I'm not hanging on every show you do, so I didn't know that. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though, because I mean there's a lot of stuff being said, and I just think if you knew somebody and they could speak for themselves, and I'd like to hear from. 'Cause I
Yeah,
hear
for
about.
sure. And what he's always said is that it's a decentralized thing. I can only speak for the people that I know personally, and I can only speak to my experiences with them, not when I'm not with them.
What's your question, Bruce?
Well, first of all, guys, you got to internationalize this a bit. I'm a Canadian living in Costa Rica, and you're talking about like a regional North California mountain incident here.
No, we're talking about a nationwide group that's being classified as a white supremacist, right-wing group that's trying to overthrow the government of the United States of America, and it started here. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a black militant group.
No.
I don't know.
No.
There's black members, probably not many, but I've seen them. But there are black, like, pro-gun groups, sure. Yeah, the BLM 757, the Not Fucking Around Coalition, Huey Newton Gun Club, Black Guns Matter, number of different groups.
Bunch of them, yeah. So I mean, of course, this is American centric in a sense that these movements are here in America. They're not necessarily in Canada, but Canada's sort of under the same situation that we're under. Sort of the same measures are taking place as we speak, or about to take place, and it's groups like the Boogaloo Boys and others, groups that are similar, are going to be the ones across America who are going to be keeping the law in their own neighborhoods at some point. Because I mean, if you take a look at what's going on over in South Africa, that's a model for what everybody says is going to happen. I mean, that's why Charlie Manson killed all those people in Laurel Canyon, is because there's going to be a race war. There's going to be a race war. There's going to be a race war. They've been saying there's going to be a race war. This has been saying it for a long time. I mean, we talked a little bit about J. Edgar Hoover last night. Scared of the Black Messiah, man. Huey Newton, all those people, Malcolm X, all those people coming up. All those people were black messiahs. And the FBI, all they were doing was worrying about the Black Messiah. Well, why were they worrying about it? How come they're always pushing this race war situation? Why are they dividing the races so bad? What like right now? Why now? Why this moment? Why is it all going down? Look over at South Africa. Look what's going on there. I mean, that's what people are calling for, shit like that over here. Yeah, we need to have a civil war, Steve. Bruce? Yeah, we need to have a civil war. We can't do this. Our whole election system's all fucked up, see? We can't even trust our vote. And I'm going to vote with my legally owned firearm. How about that? Let's shoot my guns in the sky. People are pissed. I mean, the Stasi's knocking on their doors, Bruce. The Stasi wants to know, did you get vaccinated? Did you? No? Yeah? No. Is it any of my business?
No.
Is it any of my business who I voted for? Is it any of your business? Is it any of your business what religion I am? I mean, what are people knocking on people's door asking questions and then having extraction teams to pull your ass out of the house if you don't feel like answering? I'm starting to wonder what country I'm living in, man.
Are the extractions teams real now, or are you hypothecating the near future?
No, they're real. I mean, these contact tracers during the pandemic, Johns Hopkins University was one of the places that was training these contact tracers. There was classes you could take, and they were going across and they were hiring thousands of these contact tracers. Meanwhile, your cell phone in the middle of the night got a nice little download from everybody, from your Apple phone and from your Android device, and everybody got a little piece of software on their phone that they can't turn off. That's been tracking your ass since it started. It knows when you go to the grocery store. It knows if you stand next to Steve in the aisle. It knows all that. And they've been collecting all that data, and they've been running it all this time, and they've got it pretty much dialed in at this point. So now when the contact tracers, when, you know, this Delta strain, or whatever, when these contact tracers start coming around and start quarantining people and start segregating off the people, who making people wear masks who don't have proof that they had a vaccination, and all these things that they're calling for, Bruce and Steve, I'm starting to wonder when it is that somebody's actually going to stand up and say no. I mean, when is somebody going to say no, man? No. I mean, no one's saying no. Everybody's just acquiescent. I mean, you know, take a little bit today, and, you know, a little bit more and a little bit more, and just lean into it, baby. You know, it doesn't hurt if you just lean into it. I mean, it's just one step at a time to get us to the place where we need to be, right? We're in the panopticon. We're under the behavior modification complex. Half the country's on antidepressants. The other half's fucked up on something else, man. Yeah. You know, go ahead, you guys, man. Come on in here, man.
Well, that's a rarely off discussed thing, is the incredible per capita usage of big pharma in the United States. Another thing you're world leaders in, right? You know, and I mean, I've had this discussion with so many of my friends. I have a lot of people who've done very well academically, like at the age of 38, they decide, I don't like what I'm doing, and they go back to school to become a medical doctor. And to cope with the concentration levels needed to get through the core courses, they're friggin' on Adderall all the time, man. And I'm going like, that stuff's not good for you. You know, you should know you're getting a medical degree. And they argue till they're blue in the face. And then there's all the antidepressants. I don't know what to say, man, because it's not as prevalent in Canada, my home country. It's almost non-existent in the other places I've lived. Like the ratio of psychiatrists to citizens is about 100 times greater in the other country I lived in, Taiwan. I mean, you'd be lucky to find 10 psychiatrists in a city of like 8 million people, like Taipei. And somehow America has decided everybody needs pharma, everybody needs therapy. Let me tap this racial thing for a moment, because this is a highly organized agenda that is part of the forced consent for the Great Reset. They have a different narrative everywhere. In Canada, it's dead Indian babies, right? You guys are following this story, right? All the dead Indian babies at the residential schools. Well, let me tell you, every motherfucker beyond a certain clearance in most of the Ministry of Indian Affairs, the Ministry of External Affairs in Canada, you know, Ministry of Defense, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Canadian Secret Intelligence Service, everybody knows there's fucking babies there. Why do we need some ground-penetrating radar to tell us in 2021, coincidentally right at a time where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is pushing a bad white man narrative? Don't you find that a bit coincidental? I called up a buddy of mine in Canada who lives in British Columbia, guy by the name, he doesn't mind if I say his name on air, he's an activist, a guy by the name of Rath Jadion, full-blooded Mohawk, wicked activist. I said, Rath, what's going on? He says, fuck if I know, Bruce. The elders used to tell us don't eat apples from under that tree. That's where they buried the children. Everybody fucking knew those bodies were there. So why put the entire Canadian psyche through this? You know, it's so bad now. The Chinese press picked up on it in mainland China, and they're writing congratulatory op-eds in Beijing-run newspapers saying, poor Canada, criticizing human rights in China and can't even keep their own backyard clean. You know, and our government handed them that gift. So one thing I notice about the West now, and let's limit it to the Five Eyes, okay? You guys know what that is, the 5 countries that share intelligence. For the listeners at home who might not know, it's the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and Australia, and New Zealand. All moral authority is being taken away. Like they're intentionally airing all this dirty laundry, like the natives in Canada, the deplorable conditions for the American black in the United States. you got to see how it plays outside your borders. There's a way it's played inside the American borders, and there's a way it's played outside the border, right? Now, we're all about the same age. Looking at you, Steve, you seem to be somewhere between 40 and 50, or somewhere about there.
I'm 43. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all gone through this shit, right? We've all seen it, and depending on what stage of political maturity you were at, you might have bought it. Look at the way they took down the Dutch government in South Africa. Now, I'm not saying that wasn't a racist government. It was. But when you look at the quantitative data, every single member of that country was better off when the Dutch ran it. Their standard of living, their nutritional levels, their basic shelter, everything was better, okay? And, I mean, Zuma, he just ran a government that for years, whoever took over the ANC after Mandela died, Mandela was the only thing holding it together. He was the only guy advocating peace. All the people waiting up behind him to seize power were about enriching themselves and blaming the white man for all the problems of South Africa, despite the fact that they inherited one of the most resource-rich nations in the world. They can't create a country for themselves.
Well, they didn't own any of the equipment to extract the resources. They didn't own any of the actual mines to extract the resources. They didn't own any of the infrastructure which to process the resources. They were given ostensibly a country, but none of the mechanisms by which to manage it, and then held up as an example of, oh, look, well, we tried, but these ignorant savages just don't know how to govern themselves. They gave them the table and the chairs and took away everything else that would create a banquet and a meal.
So
you know what I mean? I mean, like,
but hold on though. But hold on a second.
Those leases are still, that equipment is still not locally owned or operated.
But hold on a second.
Nor
hold on a
is the
second.
land that it's farmed on or any of that shit.
So hold on, but hold on a second, because I gotta ask this question. When back in the day, before there wasn't anything, some people showed up, right? And they started doing some shit, and they took a piece of dirt and turned it into something. And then because they did that, they made a bunch of money. And because they made a bunch of money, they bought shit and they built shit. And they fucking managed shit. And they had workers. And at some level and at some point, workers decided, hey man, we don't like the situation. And if you don't change it, obviously the workers outnumber the employers. And workers with machetes, are pissed off workers with machetes, man. The boss doesn't last too long, So, but the point is, it's not that people weren't given a fair opportunity or whatever. What it is that ultimately, on level playing field, in other words, if you take away everything that was already there, just fucking wipe it out. Get rid of it. Burn it down to the ground. Put nothing there but dirt. Everybody start from scratch. Go ahead. And build something. There you go. Because look at what you can build and look what's available to you to do. You're saying that they weren't given every opportunity when they were handed over the government. When you say they, do you mean the black people there?
The native population, yeah, the non-settler colonial population. So look, if the wealth of the nation is in its mineral resources, and you maintain ownership of the mineral resources, but quote unquote give the country back, all you've done is transferred the burden of governance over to a population without transferring over that nation's resources or wealth.
Yeah, it's like being an
or means to extract it. And then if you go, okay, well, why don't they just buy some mining equipment? Okay, what country's gonna sell it to them? They're under fucking trade agreements with the nations that were previously using the. So you see what I mean?
I do, but here's what I would have done though, man. If I was managing that situation, I would have said, okay, go ahead. I'll do this over here, and you go ahead. You hold the mineral rights. Go ahead. You hold the mineral rights. Mineral rights are invisible, aren't they? I mean, once the country is handed over to the people, then the people can go to wherever those minerals are being extracted and just fortify the area and keep people.
Grab a spoon and start digging.
Grab a spoon and start digging, just like the fucking guy who started.
Where are they going to refine it?
Well, what did the guy have when
they going to magic up the equipment?
No, I'm just saying.
In order to build a refinery?
What did the guy have when he showed up?
Does it have to get shipped in? Who owns the company that ships it?
Steve.
Yeah, if I may.
Steve, I just want to ask you. What did the original guy who struck gold have? He had a fucking shovel and a pan in his hand. He didn't have nothing else. I'm just saying.
He walked by a river and went, "Oh, that's shiny. I wonder if there's any more in that river."
I'm just saying. If you're starting from scratch, there's nothing more prideful. There's nothing more prideful for a people than to start from scratch, man. Look,
I get that.
Them overcoming those problems using their brain is what they needed to do. But overcoming those problems because of their frustration, overcoming problems with killing farmers with fucking machetes, going after people and chopping them to pieces.
From scratch looks like. What does that look like?
It looks like what they already had, man.
Which is what?
Nothing. Everybody's got nothing, man. Everybody comes here with nothing. Everybody leaves here with nothing.
Well, that's a fallacy.
So,
but
there's a much larger story here.
There totally is. But I mean, we're getting caught up in this one piece because I think it's important. Because it's the same thing that you see in America. It's a thing where you see this thing where they say people of color or black folk are less than, or for some reason they got to have some makeup for the amount of intelligence that they have, which is bullshit. And all this noise about, the thing is, what I'm trying to say is when I'm given an opportunity to take something over and take it over, I could take it over. And then I see the fruits of my labor by what I'm doing. And I see when I see people calling for something and then turning into exactly the same thing that they overthrew to achieve their goals because their frustration level is so high and they can't seem to solve their problem. They got to chop people up and go around killing people. Now, look at it now. Now it's devolved. How many years ago was that? When all this took place, Bruce. Go ahead, Bruce. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to filibuster in here, but
so when I was going through journalism school, I graduated in '92. So I went to university from '88 to '92. I turned 55 a couple days ago, July 12th, and it was a magical time to go through journalism school because Nelson Mandela happened and the Berlin Wall came down. So, to be around journalism professors and writing stuff about this just for my classes and everything, it was fascinating. So I followed South Africa quite closely, but I must confess ignorance to what Steve has said tonight on the program, that the infrastructure was never turned over to the Africans, the native Africans, and that's fucking heinous. I never knew this, that the entire story of apartheid and the rise of the ANC was just Madison Avenue, Edward Bernays bullshit. The blacks were never given their country. And thank you for educating me on that, Steve, because I love having ignorance dispelled. I did not know that. Jesus, I could send someone in with 2 years in on a certified general accounting diploma at a community college, and they know what the estimates are of the minerals, the diamonds and the gold in the ground and the cost of the equipment. And, structuring the purchase of the equipment by the government in South Africa, the black government, to start their own mines, the value of the equipment versus the value of the mines was probably 1 or 2%. That's a no-brainer. It's like a corn farmer going to the bank. You give me $10, and in 12 months I'm going to harvest $1,200 for you out of my 1 acre. It's a no fucking brainer. And the fact that this has never been written up in Vanity Fair or Gentleman's Quarterly or the fucking New Yorker or Atlantic Monthly is absolutely fucking heinous.
That's what
I'm really curious about this now.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. Is once you have it, why haven't you? Why couldn't you? So what you're saying, let me just say the difference between what you just said, Bruce, and what you're saying, Steve, is that they couldn't do any of the things that Bruce just said with that 2-year junior college guy because they had no access to the rights to the extraction of that mineral or the worth of that mineral that's in the ground below what they call South Africa. Is that what you're saying, Steve?
Yeah.
So they couldn't take loans out, Bruce.
That's like Che Guevara. That's like Fidel Castro taking over Cuba and leaving Meyer Lansky with his hotels. That don't make no fucking sense.
I mean, it's pretty common practice though, and it's a method of maintaining a global hegemony on resource acquisition and extraction. Have you ever read Confessions of an Economic Hitman?
I have, actually.
Perkins. Yeah.
Perkins did a fantastic 2-hour podcast with that guy on YouTube. I forget his name, but he's got over 1 million subscribers, and I listened to the whole interview twice. Perkins has always fascinated me. I think the world is 10 times darker than he actually described in his book. It's way worse than that. I mean, it's not just sending an economic hitman in.
Oh, yeah.
It's medieval well poisoning. They'll kill entire fucking villages to get what they want, right? Hundreds
look at Haiti right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and look at Cuba right now.
Yes.
And take those two Caribbean nations, juxtapose that with the fact that the yellow vests are back in force in France. Is there a peep in Western media?
No.
About the yellow vests? No, of course not. But there's fucking 200,000 gusanos that are hanging out down in Miami, and and that's cool. That's cool. Weird how all of the Cubans who are against Castro are like lighter skinned than me, but it's cool. It's cool. With the thing with Haiti, you had a puppet president, a Western puppet, a U.S. puppet president who ran afoul of his paymasters and got murked for it. Was about to crawfish on an election promise. Haiti's having elections in September. And the guy that he had ready to replace him, he was fucking, what's his name, Moise, was playing some serious freaking dirty pool, and he got, his security detail bounced on him. Like, the depth that they went to get that guy and to send that message, they went and hired almost 30 Colombian mercenaries and put him in country as far back as February.
Yeah.
And then had these two guys, American Haitians who also lived in Colombia and were in the Colombian army, and then also DEA informants, apparently. This is just nuts. And the puppet, not Claude Joseph, but I can't remember the other guys. Maybe just Claude Joseph. But the guy who was pre-selected to replace Jovenel Moise, he goes, we need the U.S. to come in militarily and figure this out. And all of the media talking heads in the U.S. are like, well, obviously a military intervention is what's required in Haiti. Oh, looks like we're going to have a stopover in Cuba, too. We've been in the desert for way too long. It's time to do some island hopping.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I heard the Haitian Prime Minister was going to begin an investigation on the Clintons as well, and he was
So
also.
I've heard that, but I've yet to see a shred to back that up. If you have any, please drop it in the chat or send it over to me. I'd be happy to. If I can, I don't know why you don't already have my email or contact, but I want to, because I said that the day of. Like, kind of as a joke, but I'm like, oh, we're going to find out that he was ready to expose the Clinton Foundation for the child sex trafficking and all of that. So if it happens, I mean, somebody owes me a beer.
Yeah. And what about, is there any truth to the fact that he wasn't letting the vaccine into the country?
He was pretty, like, he was opposed to... I know, like, a couple of different kinds, like, brands, but I don't know if he was, like, full, this isn't coming into my country, period. I don't know if he was working with, like, Chinese doctors or Cuban doctors or I don't know about that. I know he was not having any of the Johnson & Johnson or Moderna or any of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's fascinating. Fascinating.
Well, and they did the same thing to the guy in Tanzania, Joseph Magufuli, the president, the guy who had, like, the orange and the mango tested, and it came back positive for COVID.
Yeah.
And then wakes up one day and goes, wait, never mind, it's all real. Mask up and get ready for those shots, and then vanishes off the face of the earth for 2 months to reappear to magically drop dead of a heart attack within 24 hours.
Yeah. It's amazing to me that people can't put this together, man. But now I'm real interested in the South Africa story. It's a stickler for me, but it is in the news. It is a current topic because it's melting down right now. So, like, this corporate reshuffling, like getting the Dutch out of there and taking over the resources, that's another powerful international. Like, who's behind all that? Is it the IMF? Who restructured everything?
You know what's funny? I mean, the UN. So you would imagine that the IMF had, you know, a part to play in it, but this was, you know, heavily like a United Nations led thing.
Yeah.
And there's been rumors for years that Mandela had been, like, well in advance co-opted, and that his release from prison was conditional to cooperation with, at the bare minimum, the CIA, but the West in general, the U.S. specifically. There's during apartheid in the 70s, Klaus Schwab and Escher Weiss, the company that he was running, got caught selling, it was nuclear, I want to say, like, some sort of regulator system, but it were components for nuclear warheads that Escher Weiss got caught and Klaus got caught selling to apartheid South Africa. But I know that there have long been both Swiss and German business concerns in Africa writ large, but South Africa in particular.
Yeah.
If you can pass yourself off as a neutral country, you can get involved in all kinds of dirty business practices all over the world. And Switzerland's, just top drawer for that.
So it's come home now. This stuff we watched our governments do, the Five Eyes countries in tandem, led by the U.S., usually militarily, but you can't put it all on the U.S. It's all come home now. So they're doing the same thing domestically to Canada, to the United States. They're starting the critical race theory, which is, I guess, the substitute for critical class theory in Marx's manifesto. And they're going to take down these countries. That's what they're trying to do.
Well, I mean, it's with the relocation of Rome, essentially, they've sort of burned out the seat of the empire for DC. Your audio cut out there for a minute.
Yeah, you cut out, Bruce. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
You think DC supplanted Rome?
Well, I think there's been every like 300 years a relocation of Rome. I think it went from Rome, and then it went to Paris, and then it went to London. Now it's in the U.S. It's going to go somewhere, but it's all a continuation of the Holy Roman Empire.
My
it's
question:
not that it ended; it just changed its mailing address.
So my question keeps coming. It keeps coming to me, and I keep thinking about why this moment. Why in this moment now, this 1% is now going to allow the people that they've been abusing all this time to be disgruntled enough to destroy the shit that they've spent so much time building and so much money protecting. Why in this moment are they allowing everything to be destroyed? Because they have to come out of the ashes like a fucking phoenix bird. That's why. And that's called the Great Reset. Now, Bruce and Steve, let's talk about this Great Reset, because it's a key moment, because all these measures that are here now, just like the tax in California when the earthquake happened, they put us on like a 10% sales tax. Well, the earthquake was in 1989, man. That tax has never gone down. You know, just like when it's a drought and they raise our prices on water, when it rains like a MF up in here, the water price don't go down. Matter of fact, they restrict the water, and then they send it down to Los Angeles. And one of the coming up soon, we're going to start talking about water, because all those people that talked about water back in the day, you know, all that shit they said, well, it's getting ready to happen. Water right now on Earth is becoming a fucking major commodity in a way like it's never been seen. With the drought, the heat domes, the blasting of the Earth with the sun, the water, the way that the sea makes water into our atmosphere is being all screwed up by the way the sun's all in here.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's, like I said, a show for another time.
So if I forget.
Great Reset. The Great Reset is where we're at. So let's go there, because I want to talk about it, because these measures, Bruce, that they're talking about here with you had the red flags on social media. Now you have these contact tracers all ready to go. You have everybody signing on to the passport Clyde Lewis was talking about tonight. You know, we talked about the bracelet a long time ago. I found the bracelet. I pointed it out. I found the actual page that they deleted off the website that was referring to COVID and wearing this bracelet. And then the bracelet never materialized, but the idea behind the passport did. And, you know, having that...
the bracelet materialized, Jimmy. Sorry, go ahead.
Did it? Where did it materialize? Because I hadn't seen it yet.
Well, I mean, go into some specifics on what your bracelet
this
did.
Bracelet, this bracelet was a device that was developed by a dude in Utah. And what this was it was advertised as like a sport device. It started out as a sport device. So in other words, Steve, you're a photographer, man. You're a man about the desert. You want to go out, you hike, you take shots. You're all over the place, but you're by yourself. So you have all your medical data, everything in this bracelet that you're wearing, which you can choose the band. And then the photograph and the marketing for it, they had this like hip photographer dude, kind of with a ripped arm. You know, his arm's real muscular. He's tan, super slick tattoo, full arm tattoo going down and on right on his wrist where he's holding that badass camera. there's the bracelet. And then you go back to the website. You can pick which bracelet matches your lifestyle. Okay, and you put it on. So now, the way that the technology is developed, that this bracelet can work in conjunction with a tape-like circuit that's put onto your arm. The tape-like circuit does not have to be there, because you can also tie this wristband to a Bluetooth device, so that when you came up to my checkpoint, I could go boop, and I could scan your little bracelet, okay, and I would get all your information and see whether you came up green or you come up yellow or you come up red, because they did a whole testing of this idea up in South Korea with phone apps. In other words, they got rid of the idea with the bracelet. They said, F the bracelet, man. Everybody's got a cell phone. Let's put it in the cell phone, because now when you come up to my shop, okay, I'm gonna be proximity detecting all cell phone traffic. So when you pull up with your phone, I know it's Steve from Boulder Creek, whatever. So California. So, and then there you are. And so now I can just pull you up just like that, and I have all your information. And so that's where we're going with the Great Reset. And these measures here are going to be necessary for when we get there, which is 2025. So 4 years from now. So we need to be gotten to and dealt with immediately. And I think, go ahead, Bruce, Steve, the Great Reset. Let's get ready to reset. There we go. Reset.
All right. I'll get the conversation going. So, folks, I'm a reader. Most of my professional life, I've been a technical writer in software and telecommunications, which is the most boring kind of detail-oriented writing you can do. Oftentimes, it goes right down to the code if you're writing an API for developers. So I'm used to reading boring shit. It doesn't bother me that much. It's exciting for me to read new legislation. So I grabbed every shred of documentation I could off the World Economic Forum website, including Klaus Schwab's book, which I'm pretty sure was ghostwritten. It was about 200 pages, maybe 65,000 words. And this is what I'll say to start the conversation. There's no breakthroughs in sociology. There's no breakthroughs in urban planning. There's no breakthroughs in economics. There's no breakthroughs in technology discussed. There's no breakthroughs in philosophy. It has elements of all of these things, but it reads like a bad undergraduate essay in second year for every one of these topics I've listed. It's absolutely deplorable. And this is the book is their Bible. It's the flagship document, right? They're being extremely ambiguous, extremely amorphous about what this great reset is. Now, I'll begin the conversation by hypothecating. They don't want us to know, because we're not going to like it when we know exactly what it is. Take it over, Steve and Jimmy.
Well, I mean, we have years worth of white papers and actual medical wearables and wearables that do monitor heart rate, distance, blood sugar, all that kind of thing. I haven't had it pop up on me yet, and I will freaking find it, because it can't be that hard. It was just a week ago. But the one that I'm specifically talking about, the one that we covered on the show last week, it does that, and it has like your personal medical profile on it. Here we go. Immuniband is what it is. If you'll indulge me, I'll pull this up on the screen.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that company that I found. They took that off, and they even took it away from the Wayback Machine when I found it. And my buddy got a screenshot of it, and I went on a few shows and talked about it. But that was about it. I mean, I think I talked about it 4 times. No one really picked up on it or, wanted, I don't know what happened. It just fell off because there's so much shit going on at the time.
Well, this is your badass super bitchin' proof of jabination, right on your wrist. So where'd it go?
It's the bracelet that I found and the way they were marketing this thing. I see it. I see it easily worn by people because just as easy as I see those Lance Armstrong yellow things.
Here we go.
Everybody's got their Lance Armstrong yellow band on. Everybody's got their pink band. This type of thing. To the point where you'll see somebody in an Armani, jacket with the, yellow Lance Armstrong band sitting there. So it becomes this thing where we all have to wear the band, and I'm going to wear it even though I'm a celebrity and this and that. Go ahead, Steve.
You got 39 seconds for this bad boy, Jimmy.
Let her rip, man.
If you got the vaccine, you're probably thinking, now what? How can I show the world that I am vaccinated?
Don't you want?
How can I begin to reclaim some normalcy in my life? Well, now you can wear the Immuniband adjustable bracelet. It's the only secure way to take your vaccine card with you wherever you go and share it with whoever you'd like. Each bracelet has a unique QR code that is pin protected, and its distinctive design lets the world know that you've been vaccinated. So, let's band together to beat this pandemic. One step, one vaccination, and one Immuniband bracelet.
One step, one band, one bracelet, Jimmy, to rule them all, I guess, is how that works.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, too, is if you go to the airport, you know what you've had to do ever since 9/11, Bruce, and everybody go to the airport? You got to stand in all these lines. You got to sit there and go all through this shit. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what, man? You don't have to go through that anymore. No. Because all you have to do is put this little bracelet on right here, and this will be like, you'll be like you're a 1%er. You're walking around like a free man with that bracelet on. And that other guy over there, he got no bracelet. He's got squat. He's on the shitty internet with all the pop-ups and super slow and choppy, and everybody else is over there going, look at this guy, man. Poor guy. Yep, poor guy. But he should have got the vaccine when he could have, but now it's too late, man. They know who's been naughty and who's been nice. And,
they've got you down to a QR code on your freaking wrist. And that's going to determine whether or not you can walk onto an airplane, get into an Uber, go to a restaurant, go get a drink, whatever. They don't even need a fucking, bouncer at the door.
No.
Like, he could have his back turned. He can be 6 steps into the joint.
Yeah.
And there's a sensor over the door that, checks to see if your QR code checks out.
Not only
your
that.
code doesn't check out, the beep, and then all of a sudden you got 5 guys named Tiny.
That's right.
Right up in your fucking bubble.
But let me just say this, dude. You're not even going to get to the door, homeboy, because I'm already facial recognition you and thermal scanning your ass when you got out of your car. So before.
Right, because you're in a smart city.
That's right. So the thing is, when you start shooting, because somebody's giving you a hassle about not wearing a mask, I got microphones in the lamp poles listening for gunshots, and then I'm going to swoop a drone in there and drive a hypodermic needle into your neck and drop you like a bull out on the plane with a tranquilizer dart. And
then we do that? Get drones and load them up with like fun drugs and fly them into each other?
We could, man. But I'll just say, I'm just saying, look at that thing is a GPS target also. So the thing is So the thing is, I could hone in on your ass of facial recognition. Okay, then I could dispatch my drones from the roofs of the buildings that I have them stationed on. And they could fly in and facial recognize you and tell you, lay down on the ground, you must comply. And if you say no, they just blow some 15% pepper spray in your face, and then my self-driving vehicle will pull up, and my little robot will come out and throw some tie wraps on your wrists, and he'll put a little black bag over your head, and then my robot officer will pull up and toss you in the back of the drive-away van, and the doors will lock and drive away as you scream and yell, "I'm an American, God damn it! Let me out of here." That's
my life has value.
My name's Jimmy.
Mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
There you go.
Man.
You know what night it is, right? It is, or it's still.
What the fuck?
It is. What time is it? It's still 11:30. So guess what? It's still What the Fuck Wednesday. It's Steve Coynan from Slow News Day. He's got a show here on Aftermath on Sundays at what time is it, Steve? 11. It comes on?
No, it's 10.
10.
It's 10. 10 on the West Coast, 1 p.m. on the East Coast. We will be joined by Sabby Sabs from the Fred Hampton Leftists this Sunday.
Nice.
New news organization coming out of the political YouTube sphere, modeling themselves much more in the vein of deceased blacktivist Fred Hampton, as opposed to, the ones that the activists that just showed up ready to work for the establishment. They got some good people over there, but it's going to be a good conversation for sure. I'll tell you what, though. It's a very good week to be watching us. Tomorrow we're going to have a gentleman named Matt Orfala on the show, who's a video editor, and does incredible content, has been just ran through the ringer by YouTube censorship algorithms. They're yanking down content of his that's been up for over 6 years now, just because he ran afoul of the algorithm, so now the algorithm is coming to get him. That's going to be a fascinating conversation. Tessa Fights Robots. This woman is an incredible writer. She will be with us Saturday morning, also at 10 o'clock on the West Coast and 1 on the East Coast. I've got some incredible shows coming on. I'm also going to be a guest on Tinfoil Hat next week, as well as Chrissy Marr's podcast. I'll be on with her for the first time. If you're not familiar with Chrissy Marr, she's a comedian. She's absolutely hilarious. She's just stone cold killer, man. And one of the few people doing actual comedy in an era that seems to be dominated by very safe jokes and just this woke garbage that makes me die inside every time someone tries to make it funny, Jimmy. I don't know about you.
It's not funny, but it sounds like Bruce is familiar with.
Yeah. So the other guy is Sam Tripoli on Tinfoil Hat, is a stand-up comedian as well.
Yeah, Sammy's a buddy. I've been really fortunate to have gotten to know him over the past couple of years, and it'll be. I haven't done a Tinfoil Hat since like February or March of 2019. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a minute, and we'll take a little break. I'll play a little music here, and you guys can step off, see a man about a horse, or whatever you need to do. And then, but I wanted to mention to everybody, don't forget, July is the anniversary for Aftermath. We year old, and it's $79 for the year. Go over there, aftermath.fm/microcosm. Sign up for a year, $79. And man, that divides out. It's almost nothing. And you get all access to everything, all the research. You get to go back there, see Clyde. He does this Zoom meeting. There's a lot of stuff going on, just research material, movies, videos, all kinds of stuff. There's it's unfortunate that you got to put up a wall to be free. But and it's not free. It's $79. But I'm just saying, it used to just be free. You could just do anything. But now, the only way you can do it is to be protected by your own wall, and you gotta, delineate your place from the rest of everything with this wall. And unfortunately, that's what we got to do in 2021 if we want to be free. Because otherwise, if you're over on YouTube, they can do exactly what you're saying. And you know what I'm telling you? Here's what my feeling is. All my shows are up here on YouTube. And one day, if they just change something about the way that things are, they could just go by and just give me 3 strikes on every one of my channels, and I'd be gone. But you'd be able to find me over here on Aftermath FM. You'd be able to find all my shit over there behind the paywall. So, the paywall is very slim this month, man. $79 a year. You just do it one time. Forget about it. All right, now, if you want to support my show, specifically Patreon, Into the Microcosm, please go over if you want to, and if you can, support. There's going to be unique and special material there for members only. So, and I'll go into more detail over there when I can figure out how to do a video over there. But in the meantime, let's take a couple minutes here for ourselves and remember a time when you could just drive down the highway with a tall beer between your legs and just head on out for a drive. My name's Jimmy, don't drink and drive.
When you're driving down the highway at night and you're feeling that wild turkey's bite, don't give Johnny Walker their eyes, 'cause Jack Bryan is right by your side.
It's Aftermath FM.
You've been arrested for driving while blind. Now just another night with nothing to do. We broke the case of proof 102 and started itching for that wonderful feel of rolling in an automobile. You can say we was out of our mind, and let me tell you we was blind by blind.
Something. Every now and then, say what the fuck. What the fuck gives you freedom? Freedom brings opportunity. Opportunity makes your future.
Your stats are very respectable. You've done some solid work here. But it's not quite Ivy League now, is it?
You know, Bill, there's one thing I've learned in all my years. Sometimes you gotta say, what the fuck?
Beg your pardon?
The average fan listens for, are you ready for this? An hour and 20 minutes. How can that be? Answer most commonly given. I want to see what he'll say next.
All right, okay, fine. But what about the people who hate?
Good point. The average hater listens for 2.5 hours a day.
But if they hate him, why do they listen?
Most common answer, I want to see what he'll say next.
She was burning, burning. I walked
Steve barely got out of Denver. You barely got out of Denver, didn't you, Steve?
Man, my experiences with airlines have just been less than stellar over the last 2.5 years. And I'm such a nice person.
Well,
and such a mellow flyer. I load up on edibles before I leave for the airport. I'm not trying to cause no trouble to nobody. I don't want to talk. I don't want to know, man. Just pour me into an uncomfortable tiny ass seat. Squeeze me in around people that fucking do not want to talk to me either. We're going to pretend that nobody exists for like 90 minutes to 5.5 hours, and then like at the first possible opportunity, we're fighting over who gets to go into that little fucking space toilet to take a hit off a little fucking e-cig or a fucking vape and hopefully not get in trouble.
I don't know, man. I've seen some stewardesses in those bathrooms doing some things you can't even talk about. But anyway, that's a show for another time.
Hey, look, dude, I will mile high. I will. Don't think it won't. Like, that'll happen. But
not anymore, my friend. I'm afraid those days are over because now there won't be stewardesses anymore. Now you'll just be there and there'll be a guy with an Uzi, maybe an Israeli soldier type thing. You know, like this type of Uzi, with the beret. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You got the Sky Marshals.
Yeah, man. I mean, did you see?
Fucking seat.
Clyde was talking about something happened where people were having issues with people with masks on planes, and people had their hands on the top of their heads, and somebody got duct taped to a seat, and all this shit, man. It's what I'm witnessing in America, like on Monday. Just all this shit about this whole new call up on your Uncle Bob who pissed you off at Thanksgiving last year. You know, say he's a right-wing Christian gun owner who doesn't like the government, and call the 1-800 number, and boom, Uncle Bob's gonna go downtown for a few days, take a beating. Uncle Bob's gonna go to the re-education camp. You know what I mean? He's going to the short course. That's just that's the billy club to the ribs, a couple taser shots and some pepper spray, and then we'll throw you in the wrong area in the jail, and then we'll say it's a big mistake and send you home. Sorry about that, Steve. It wasn't you, really. We got you mixed up with somebody else. But see, that's why we need your DNA, Steve. Are you willing to give it to us tonight? We'll just take it now, and this way we can avoid this in the future, Steve. Because we can just put this on we just put it on a bracelet. And then, there it is. Your DNA is right there. Anytime I want to know who you are, I can and see your family tree and say, no, you're not getting this job, sonny. No, you don't belong here. You're not in this tier.
So my buddy Keith McHenry, the gentleman who co-founded Food Not Bombs back in Boston in the early 80s, he has been unemployable by federal mandate since 2001. Like, he had a job. He had to give up his Social Security card number, for payroll for the job. And his SSN bounced back as, oh no, this person is unemployable. He is not allowed to have a job that has a tax ID, employee, tax ID, that has to go through payroll taxes. Not allowed to have a job. That, Jimmy, is life goals.
Well, let me just say this. That same thing that you're talking about right there, that happens to you and you don't know it. That happens to you and your life is shit, that you don't ever get a job you apply for. Because every time your name comes across a desk anywhere, they see some shit that you have never seen about yourself that goes out and says, look, You know, you want me to come down there and do an audit on your books? Well, no. Well, you better not make sure that Steve doesn't get that job then. Because if I see, I see one W-2.
I've been blacklisted from media outlets. I was fired.
Dude, it's to the level
from
where
Nation magazine in 2008 because I wrote an article that referred to Barack Obama as Reagan with a tan, and they did not appreciate that.
Well, dude, it's like this. It's to the level where anything can be perpetrated on you at this point through the methods that are available. You don't even have to be anybody. You don't have to be an agency. You know, you don't have to be anybody. You can get all the same shit that any agency can get because the whole system is designed for the agencies to get that shit without a warrant. So all you got to do is know how to get into that shit. And don't you think everybody does? I mean, every single device that says smart device, that's a military term. That's an acronym. Smart is an acronym. It's a military term. Look it up. Anything that's a smart device is a device that you don't want anywhere near you or your family. Period. And I mean, you know, I've been saying it since, 2000 whatever, 6. I'll talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but it don't mean shit. No one cares. People are willing to die. People are willing to get cancer with their wireless phones because no one will ever give it up. That's the thing. When I was in the business of making wireless happen for people, they're fucking addicted to it. I come in there, they don't have it. All of a sudden, boom, their cell phones work everywhere. They're like, oh, well, this is great. Can you do this over at this building? Yeah, I can. Boom. Oh, man, can you do it over here? Hey, can you blast me some signal over there? Hey, we really want internet over here. You know what I mean? So there's shit everywhere. I mean, and so, like, look, these devices now, a lot of them, there's shit on circuit boards. I mean, we're talking about this wristband, and we'll go back to that in a second. I'm just saying, there's stuff on circuit boards that people pay and supplement the building of whatever it is you're building. Steve, you're building a phone. So I'm coming to you and say, hey, man, Steve, you're building these phones, man. Nice. Really nice designs. Listen, I have this chip here that I need to do some testing on. And the only way we can really get some good data is to install this on devices. But it doesn't do anything. It won't hurt your reception. It won't do anything. But if you let me put this chip on your board and just let me get some data from it so I can test my design, I'll offset 50% of the overhead on the making of your device. How's that sound, Steve? And most companies, they go, fuck yeah. Because now they're going to make a bunch more money because they don't have to do anything more. But they're going to cover all the costs. So, so then these devices have these chips on the boards, and unbeknownst to anybody, but then all of a sudden you didn't know, but then there's another device in your house that's all contacting that chip in your whatever device that is, and Bluetooth and over to it, or our episode today was a kind of a walk back. And we just did a deep dive on what the Internet of Things is and what it does and what it's going to take to extract the resources that powers the Internet of Things going forward. And so it's serendipitous that you mentioned that, man. We just kind of went in on it. But I mean, if you're check this out, did you guys bring up in that show? Did you bring up the smart meter transmitting at 900 megahertz, and that it's a mesh network that expands its footprint by adding every time you add one, it puts a ring and extends that ring's circumference that much further. And if you overlap those rings one by one, you could basically cover the whole country with a covert cellular 900 megahertz cell network that's blasting signal through everybody's walls.
We've talked about that before, yeah.
Nice.
And we've talked about mesh networks and all that kind of shit.
Excellent. Yeah, that's, stuff people should know about, I guess, especially if you're going to have yourself a piece of rural property.
Mm-hmm.
That is how you...
Yo, fucking Pringles can, homie.
That's right. That's how you can help.
I'm not kidding.
What's that?
You can't. I mean, you could make a fucking mini fucking wireless capture device with a Pringles can.
Well, you should put those blueprints up on your Patreon, man. But let me just say, you can also make yourself a mesh network, utilizing solar panels, trees, and put your router out there, and you can do that yourself for pretty cheap. Is why I'm telling you guys this. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. If you go to freedomcells.org, I think you can get that and a number of other like line of sight communications instructions.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff you can buy pretty much off the shelf. I mean, there's point-to-point LED where you shoot a beam of light from one place to another without cable. Super fast, There's all stuff you can do, and people should learn about how to do it because you don't need the rest of it. I mean, if you want to do something, you can have everything at your house on a computer and then network to that computer only on your property and never go on the internet. Just have access to everything that you have on there. How long would it take for you to put everything you need to have on there, or to have a hard drive or whatever, and just be able to have these like a library of hard drives with a whole bunch of different shit on it, and you could just self-sustain wherever you are. Like meanwhile, if there's internet for a period of time, you could get your internet right off the Elon Musk satellite system and get some, no matter where your rural property is. So if you want to go out and start an autonomous community, like kind of what Bruce did, building the earth bag house. Bruce isn't going to be dealing with a lot of the problems we're talking about because of where he is. He's on a mountain, and so maybe if you go up north, Steve, maybe you'll be out of the fray. But I have a feeling if I want to go to Snob Hill to buy my groceries, I'm going to have to show something or whatever. I mean, I think it's going to get to that point, man. I really do.
No, I mean, we're, going to have to... There's a pretty thriving farmers market scene up there, but I don't know if the Liberty crowd got ran off or not. You know what I mean? Like the NPR liberals pretty much invaded up there, and just like here in Santa Cruz.
Right.
This is where good NPR liberals go to die. Remember when Ronald Reagan said Orange County was where good Republicans go to die?
Mm-hmm.
That's Santa Cruz now. It's where good NPR liberals go to die.
Did you ever...
And they just started tearing up right on Front and Laurel.
Front Street. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember Bob Chapman?
Name sounds familiar.
He was a financial dude that used to go on Alex Jones, and he's like an old school financial dude.
Okay.
Bob Chapman, and he was tied in, man. He was a conservative. The reason I'm bringing it up, I don't know if I'll tell you the story now, just because it's sort of long and drawn out. But did you ever hear the story Bob Chapman told about the movie he saw down in Orange County when Ronald Reagan was going to be president, and they invited a bunch of these upper echelon Republicans with money to this viewing of this movie? You ever hear about that? Either one of you, Bruce? Have you ever?
No. Nope.
Well, let me just say, people's ideas about old Ronnie would really change if they heard that Bob Chapman story. Now, Bob Chapman's dead. He told the story once on air on the Alex Jones show, and I heard the story, and I still remember it to this day. So I'd be repeating what I heard on Alex Jones on a broadcast by Bob Chapman. So it's not, I don't have this knowledge to be firsthand, but I can pretty much repeat the story if you guys want me to finish it real quick. Because, I mean, there's not much more to it other than finding out what was on the movie. And the movie was Ronald Reagan with a prostitute. The prostitute had a rubber penis attached to her, which was implanted in Ronnie's rear end. And they were on some bed in some hotel room. So, like I said, these elite dudes were all invited to watch this movie at some dinner party where they were all eating, hors d'oeuvres and shit like that, sitting around with Cristal.
Watching Reagan get pegged? What kind of wine do you serve with that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Probably some Boone's Farm. Or some
right. Here's some Night Train, folks.
Manischewitz. Manischewitz. Remember that shit? That Manischewitz is good. But anyway, mine's Jimmy Microcosm is Steve Pocoin and Bruce MacDonald. Bruce, Ronald Reagan is a hero to a lot of people, isn't he? I mean, just in general.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he really was the first admitted actor who was president. Which, I mean.
Yeah, but again, in the irony of inversion, he actually did the job, which is why they put a couple slugs in him. Right?
Well.
So.
Did the job meaning he was a good actor?
No, he actually did it. I think he did a presidential job, man. I think
do?
It was a pretty decent. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
What do you think were some of the best things that he did?
I really liked when he fired all the air traffic controllers. I liked the spirit he injected into America. His economics, I might not like. Okay, I gotta draw a real fine line here, okay? Because when we're talking about leaders, there's several categories, and there's no leader in the last 50 years that hits all three of my categories, which would be injecting spirit into the nation and positive upliftment and getting people motivated. Like, Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Mm-hmm.
So Reagan had that sort of spiritual quality where he spoke just directly to people. I remember Diane Sawyer went up to him after a Republican Congress. Like, this was near the end of his 8 years or so, or I can't remember. It might have been halfway through his second term. And she wanted to do the big liberal drill down. And he gave what I would call a really kind of loosey-goosey speech, but it was very uplifting. And she goes in and asks a couple questions right out of the gate. He just looks at her and he goes, "Weren't you listening?" and walked away. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And I liked him because he was an anti-politician. Now, in the economic category, I'd give him about a 6.5 out of 10. I think, despite the fact that I liked him firing the air traffic controllers, he was a bit hard on labor. Let's not forget that was under Reagan's watch that free trade came in, right? So he was still around in 89 when the first free trade deal went in with Canada and the United States. So he was definitely a globalist despite all the nationalist rhetoric. And what would my third category be? It would be like defining a nation as a nation, right? So we are a people, and we have a unique character. We're defined by a border, and we have a unique history. And if you spin off of like 88, 89, it's hard to find anyone like that after that in the Five Eyes countries.
No, but it looks like
Tony Blair, Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, but everybody looks different, though. Everything looks different. So when you look back to when Reagan was president, look at the TV shows. Look how cheesy and believable that bullshit was going on TV, because that's how cheesy and believable Ronald Reagan is, man. The dude's a fucking actor. Okay, and you know what? If I didn't know, listen, hold on. And if I didn't know you were talking about Ronald Reagan right now, a lot of the shit you just said applied to Donald J. Trump, and who everybody knew was an actor fucking coming in, right?
Well, hold on.
He's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's been body slammed.
He's a professional wrestling villain Hall of Famer.
Hello.
What can you say about a guy whose entrepreneurial life includes a failed university and freeze-dried steaks on top of real estate? Okay, He's not a perfect guy.
No.
But for the time he came in,
He's a perfect. He was a perfect character to come along to entice and entrance and seduce the people into believing some bullshit that was nothing but bullshit from the beginning. That dude's been a Democrat.
Got us to the Great Reset like Trump.
Dude,
nobody could have.
I know, and
Donald
that
Trump
dude
brought more socialism to the United States than any president since FDR.
And
he He was a vaccine salesman. He was a real estate settlement broker for Israel. Like, there was no bigger bitch to Israel than Donald Trump.
Oh, man.
They renamed the fucking settlement in the Golan Heights after him.
Oh, they minted his bust on a coin. The last thing you said, I agree with. But look, I gotta throw my hat into the ring, okay? And at least he articulated nationalism.
He did.
I mean, the moment Biden and Harris got in, you're dealing with a borderless America again.
He articulated nationalism, but what did he do? He gave $5 trillion to globalists. He fucking, exploded the U.S. presence in Africa. He moved AFRICOM, reseeded it so that it could hover over it so that we could be a globalist empire. I mean, the thing that he gets really big credit for is trying to stick it to China on a trade deal while his family's business name opened up something like 40,000 new freaking registered trademarks for shit in China.
So, all right, guys, you got to ask your questions properly. You got to say, Bruce, what did you think of Reagan in context to a multi-generational, multi-presidential, two-party movement towards a global reset? If you ask the question that way, I'll give you a good answer.
All right, because
it's all about context, right?
It is, and let's go there, man, because that's what we're talking about. Listen. When Obama's in office, okay, all the Republicans are there watching everything that's going on. Look, what is he doing? What is he doing over there? Look at him, and they're watching him, okay. But when Trump's in office, those same Republicans, they all relax, man. Well, now our guy's in office, man. Our guy's in there, man. Don't you worry about a thing. Just kick back. You don't have to do nothing. You have to do shit. Just kick back. But meanwhile, the left and everybody on the other opposing viewpoint and philosophy, they're sitting there working their asses off nonstop, 24 hours a day, every day, on every news channel, across the plane. There it is, blah, blah, blah. You know, and people are confused. They don't know what's going on. And the only thing that they look for is they're looking for a continuity and somebody that they recognize and somebody that they can trust. It's a salesman. It's just like whatever. It's just like the Marlboro Man. You know, when you see the Marlboro Man, he's over there. He's got that steaming cup of coffee. There's a fire burning, you know, smoking. Sun's coming up. He's sitting there. He's got his horse. He's just coming down off Brokeback Mountain, and he lights himself a Marlboro. And he takes a big drag on it, and he puffs it on out. It makes you feel, you know, relaxed, man. You look at that dude, you go, yeah, that's me, man. Look at that shit. Is me, man. I'm a cowboy. Look at that shit. I'm going to go down and get me a pack of Marlboros. Well, it's the same thing with whether you're a Democrat or Republican, man. You go down and get yourself a pack of Trump, or you go down and get yourself a pack of Biden's. You know, Biden might be menthol. No, I think the Harris might be menthol. Biden might be.
No, the Harris is not menthol. I promise you. The Harris is one of those weird, export A cigarettes.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, so context and the Great Reset and these characters, please. Before I go out into the weeds of Secaucus over here.
So, I mean, the first thing you got to take note of is we're not really being given any decision points in the political process since about, since Carter and or maybe even earlier, but let's just start it at Carter in the United States and Trudeau in Canada. There really are no decision points for the voters because the things they do the elections on are really not the things that the governments are brought in to do. And so the entire process is a complete fallacy. And then you get in, and then, so we're going to leapfrog from a nice socio-political economic conversation in here, and, you end up in the woo-woo. You end up in the conspiracy stuff, and then everything just goes, whatever, multidimensional, and you can't have a rational conversation. So, I mean, if we're going to go down that path, I would say that this planet is run by aliens, man. I'd say it's a fucking gene farm. Really, honestly, I'm being serious. I wrote a book about it. But we're not in that context right now. So in the context of presidents in the last, let's say, 4 decades, I like Reagan and I like Trump for what a president can or cannot do. Are they all part of a continuous momentum, to one direction? Yeah, it's one direction, okay? But it's just the way you asked earlier, Steve. I didn't get a chance to directly respond. What did Trump do? Well, I'd say the domestic energy market was pretty good. I mean, gas has doubled in Costa Rica since Biden's gotten in. And, that's just a fucking make work program for the cabal now, so they can get their forced toll booth markets going again.
But that's not just because Biden's in there, though. That's because the overall global agenda is going to tax the shit out of anybody trying to drive or do anything with gasoline. And so
the supply chain squeeze has been, that narrative's been seeded for well over a year now. There were DHS memos coming out as far back as March of 2020 talking about this and talking about the cyber pandemic.
Yeah.
In 2020, the World Economic Forum, 2019, the World Economic Forum first put forth the notion of the cyber pandemic. The occupant of the Oval Office is like the head of public relations for America and a select number of global oligarchs. It's the government we're allowed to see, and Congress is just a fucking performance, given by
it is.
very very bad actors in most
Man,
cases.
I'm gonna just say, look, I've done a lot of research in this area, especially in social engineering and psychology, and I'm just saying that I'm not saying everything is fake. Okay, I'm not saying I'm real. The world is real. Everything is real that's going on. But what I am saying is the shit is scripted, man. 100% scripted, and nobody goes off the script. You ain't on the mainstream unless you're gonna read the script. Okay, you stop reading the script like you told you to. Go see how Britney Spears likes how she's living over there. Because that's an example of what happens to you when you go off the script. So whether that means
Chris Cornell or Anthony Bourdain or I mean, there's a lot of ways of getting dealt with. Fucking Martin Lawrence, had a breakdown to the point to where he's running down the street in his underwear, waving a gun, screaming, "They're going to kill me."
Yeah, they could do that to
and that's after they made him wear a dress for a decade.
What do you think? What do you think got? I mean, on the level of script reading that we're talking about, when you get to the level of being the guy reading the script for the United States of America, and you get to that level, okay, and you start feeling your oats a little bit, start having a little bit of power, start feeling yourself, but then you get reeled in. What kind of shit do you think got said? I mean, I never seen anybody go away so quietly as I saw. Right at the end of that whole election debacle with Trump, how he was out there making a bunch of noise, and all of a sudden he just went whoop. He just fucking went away. He just went away because, I mean, it was almost like, it's almost like an obvious conversation. Hey man.
You sort of nailed this with Rio, right? With the reverse speech. There was a week where he just flipped. He was genuine to a point. And then somebody went into the Oval Office and whispered something in his ear, and boom. I mean, the truth is, they can tune any one of us up in 15 minutes. They could grab you in a shopping mall, take you into a bathroom stall, whatever they do to you. In 15 minutes, you'd be out in the Santa Monica freeway masturbating with your dick in your hand, saying "Jesus saves." Hey, we got to lock that guy up. They can do it to anybody, right?
Anybody.
That MK Ultra stuff they started working on in the 60s with Ewan McGregor at McGill University Hospital. I mean, it took months to just get basic results with the psychic driving. By the way, Leonard Cohen was a participant in that, if you want to know that.
That's a trick everybody knows.
Yeah. What they did back then over months and research, they can do it in 15 minutes chemically now, and with tonal technology. And
they can do it right now for 15 seconds with your cell phone device with ultrasonic and harassment. They can. I mean, you can't hear it. It's just below and just above what you can hear, but it can make a reaction happen in your body, as far as your emotions, because we all know what. So you'd be transmitting at that frequency level that's used or has registered as anger. So there's anger is a frequency, happiness is a frequency, apathy is a frequency. They got it all dialed in. So, and the human body will attune itself to the highest frequency that it comes in contact with. So you can go from an alpha to a beta state, this type of thing. So if I'm blasting you with the signal that makes you happy, you could be laying back feeling all happy, but I can hit you with the anger molecule. I hit you with the anger, and you're all of a sudden getting in fights with your wife and this and that. And then I do what Steve was talking about earlier. I make it so you can't get a job. You're out. You've been non-essential. Now you're looking for work. But every time, Steve, your name comes across the table, and then I'm going to hit you with subsonic harassment, making you angry, getting in fights with your wife, getting in hassles with everybody you come in contact with because you're angry, Steve. You're very angry. Matter of fact, I think you need to go to anger management, Steve. You're too angry. Look at how angry he is. I'm just kidding.
Despite my calm exterior, I am a swirling vortex of rage and chaos.
I know.
I have suffered numerous microaggressions just on this broadcast. I mean, he's very
I'm not even going to apologize for that. So that's how I've been taking my micro to the macro now.
There you go. Well, this is into the microcosm, so there may be some microcosmic aggressions going on over here, but I don't know. They've seen a little bit of nuclear tonight. I mean, we've traveled a lot of roads, man, to get to where we are here now. I might not be Mr. Right, but I'm definitely Mr. Right now. And right now we got about, we got about 40 minutes left, and I think we got to open them phones here pretty quick to get some calls coming in. You guys ready to open?
You're going to let the unwashed on, Jimmy?
Of course. The end of the microcosm at late night aftermath is home of the unwashed and the useless eaters that we all come here to gather. And we got piñatas with every face of every president that's ever been. And for some reason, I'm just saying, the Reagan piñata seems to be intact. And I just saw it there tonight, and I figured, what the fuck? I got a broomstick over here, and there's the Reagan piñata. Might as well take a swing at it. A swing at it! But, hey, do you remember a band called Funkadelic? Vaguely. Well, they had a song called Maggot Brain. And we're going to listen to that right now. 626-999-4761. 626-999-4761. Give us a call. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about the Great Reset, Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, Jimmy Carter, George Bush. Think about it. Think about all them presidents, them dead presidents. I want to get me some of them in my pocket. But right now we're going to listen to this. Funkadelic.
Mother Earth is pregnant for the third time. For y'all have knocked her up. I have tasted the maggots in the mind of the universe. I was not offended. For I knew I had to rise above it all, or drown in my own shit.
He knew he had to rise above it all, or he would drown in his own shit. My name is Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. Monday through Friday, 10:30 Pacific, right here, immediately following Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero team. And here we go. Maggot Brain. (626-999-4761) 626-999-4761. Give us a call. (425). Who are you?
Hello.
Who are you? Where are you calling from? 425.
This is Tree Hugger in the comment section from Tacoma.
Hey, what's up, Tree Hugger?
Hey. You guys are pretty awesome.
Hey, thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. This whole thing got my head in a spin, though. I tell you, the world has gone mad.
Mm-hmm. It has.
I agree. One of my very good friends and I, for the better part of a year now, that she put it to me as it's a like mass hypnosis. And
I agree.
Damned if it doesn't seem like it more often than not, man.
There are some lost people that they act like a bunch of NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
They act like nothing's wrong, everything's fine. Just take your vaccine, go about your day. And it's like it's not that easy, though. You can't just take the vaccine that they made within a few months or whatever.
Well, I'll tell you.
Questions, and no one wants to ask these questions except guys like you.
Well, earlier today, I was watching, there was a video that I was made aware of. It's an FDA video. And they were talking about the vaccine, and they were talking about vaccine surveillance. In other words, the tracking of information after these have been, disseminated among people after they've been injected with it, to be able to surveil it and get the details. So there was a moment at 2 hours, 33 minutes, and 40 seconds. And in the presentation, in that moment, they accidentally put up a screen of what they deemed to be potential side effects. It only lasted for a millisecond, and they realized it, and they took it away. But I sat there for about 20 minutes trying to capture it to stop the video right where it was so I could catch it. And then I finally figured out that I needed to slow the YouTube video down to 0.25% speed. And I slowed it, and I waited, and I finally got it, and I got the screenshot of it. And so I sent it to a couple friends, and so that means that I can look at it in Skype, which I'm going to do. And then I'll read to you what they are. This was in October 2020 was when they came out with this video. So let me roll. Let me see if I can find this bitch. Oh yeah, and I got the link for the movie too for the video. All right, so this is what it says. Okay, stand by. It says so FDA. This is a meeting on vaccines and related biological products. The FDA safety surveillance of COVID-19 vaccines draft working list of possible adverse event outcomes subject to change. So there's a whole bunch of them on here. I'd say there's about 20. There's Guillain-Barre.
20 adverse effects?
Yeah, it's 20. This is a draft now. This says draft. And it says subject to change, but Guillain-Barre, there's let me see here. I can't really read this, it's so far away. Let me see here. I think what I can do is try to stretch it. Hang on, let me get it bigger. But I don't know if it's gonna fuck everything up on YouTube. But if it does, just stand by YouTube for a second. So it's
let me say something real quick though. Okay, because this is gene therapy, they're messing with our genetics.
Right.
But they don't say this is positive gene therapy. They don't say that this is going to cure the cold or cancer or a virus.
No.
You know, this goes back to the depopulation agenda that these guys have been preaching about for the, 100 years.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, you got to say to yourself that, describe this as what it is. It's a software that's being put in to divert your internal software and hijack your systems. So this is a software that's being inserted in you, and then you're just gonna get upgrades. It's like Microsoft. It's like it was this, it was that. Now it's what is it? Windows 10.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like they're trying to So I know people like Jason Burmis. They talk about upgrading transhuman agendas. They talk about robotics, nanotech, all that stuff. But I mean, what kind of positive level would that have for us, the sheep?
I don't see that has any.
I mean,
there's nothing positive about any of that. There's no reason for man to be messing with, nature. I mean, there used to be this commercial on there, "Don't mess with Mother Nature." The reason things work as a system, and that's the thing. That's the thing that's going to find. The reality of the situation is all the things that we took, we didn't think meant anything. Like all the things around the earth. Well, that's just a rock. Oh, that's just some sand. That doesn't mean shit. Oh, that's just this is that. The thing is it's all connected, man. When one thing disappears, everything fucking goes. Everything goes sideways. And so the thing is to go into nature and to try to duplicate it. Like, why would I want a tree that is aluminum resistant? Why would I genetically modify a tree to be aluminum resistant? Is it because I'm spraying
or fireproof?
Am I spraying aluminum everywhere? And is it in the ground and it's in the water? It's everywhere. The tree has to know how to live in an aluminum environment. So I'm going to genetically modify these trees so that they can intake aluminum because I know I'm going to be spraying aluminum.
Right. Well, so as far as biology goes, flu shots have been a controversy for a long time. A lot of people, it would be split. Some people say vaccines or flu shots have caused autism, for one. And then other people say, well, no, that's not true. We don't have any scientific proof of that. Well, what about when the scientists should at least observe and report if something like that were to happen, and have those giant studies? They've just been popping people full of vaccines for our whole lives. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I've been vaccinated. And then all of a sudden, this new vaccine mRNA technology has me thinking about all the vaccines.
Yeah, well, you should
has
be.
Me thinking about flu shots and all this poison that we're putting into our body, but not asking, are we doing this just for a flu or a cold, or, the agenda that's really behind it?
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of speculation, and then there was an eventual admission that people were given the polio vaccine were given cancer. So
yeah, I think I heard about that.
Yeah, well, I got cancer. I got lymphoma. Did I get it because of that? I don't know. But a lot of guys ended up getting cancer. The very demographic that shows up and getting that cancer were the ones that got that polio vaccine. Was it
all those guys from Agent Orange in the Vietnam military?
Exactly.
A lot of them got cancer.
There you go.
And it took how long before the military would admit that?
Never.
Even quietly?
Never.
Through the VA? There used to be...
These are toxins designed for that shit, though. These toxins... I'm sorry to cut you off like this, Steve, but these toxins are designed to specifically do that. That they're not just testing the stuff. I think, in a way, that they know what's supposed to happen. They just want to know the long-term effects of it.
Well, there's a number of things that get accomplished with this particular gene therapy experiment. And one is it gets the public used to emergency use authorization as a replacement for this thing has passed all stages of trials and has been approved by a governing or regulatory body. Whatever you think about the FDA, whatever you think about them, the manufacturers at least still have to go through, like, in cases, decades worth of trials before they're allowed to market, their concoction. And in this case, we know it was rushed. We know that emergency use authorization now doesn't mean only during an emergency, because we're still operating under EUA for the jab, but we're not in a state of emergency. Nowhere in the U.S. is a state of emergency declared. It hasn't been for months. So that the EUA is enough now. Your hands up, Jimmy.
Yeah, just because I wanted to ring back to a moment when this pandemic, when all 50 states declared a national emergency or declared emergency. That was the first time in the history of the United States that all 50 states declared an emergency. So there is a FEMA provision that in the event that all 50 states in America declare an emergency, that the President of the United States is no longer in charge of the government, and that that power is transferred to FEMA, which is run out of some Kansas City, someplace there. There's some base, and it's interesting only because no one ever said anything about it, but there is a protocol. You can go look for it right now. Go look, and when you see it, you might start thinking to yourself, it kind of looks weird, but if FEMA did take over during that, that would kind of explain the behavior of Trump during that period of time. When he said,
you brought that up.
Hold on a second. He said, if you guys remember, he said, "I've really enjoyed being your president." At one point, he said, "I really enjoyed being your president." And there was another point where he said, "I'm going to be going away for a while because there's a lot of people out there that they don't like me. They don't, pharmaceuticals." He was referencing the big pharma or whatever. A lot of people don't like me. Big pharma don't like me. And then all of a sudden, he comes back. He comes back, and all of a sudden, he's Big Pharma's best friend because he just went in and he got that vaccination, and now he's feeling like he's 50 years younger. Remember that?
Yeah. So this would be like, so the transfer of power and wealth, in a way, is when FEMA came in, and whoever runs FEMA, I'll call it the Illuminati. Let's say they run FEMA, the Rothschilds or whatever, and now that they have the complete power and control of, I guess, subversially all 50 states. Whether it looks like that or not, because there's a lot of governors that are anti whatever this agenda 2030 stuff is and the Great Reset. But like, these mother truckers have what they want. They have what they need. I mean, they already transferred the wealth already. They did that. They transferred the power. They can do it again with flipping off the internet and lights and stuff like that with their the cyber pandemic, you know.
Yeah.
So FEMA's basically, as you're saying, they're in power right now, or the people behind FEMA.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. Do you guys remember when the presidential seal disappeared off the podium? And then they said, and they go, that's because of this reason. They made up some bullshit, but it was gone for a long time, and then it came back. Go ahead. Did you want to jump in?
Let me just really refresh everyone's memory. They talked about a FEMA takeover, an emergency situation in the X-Files. That's where the idea was first prepped in the public mind, right? I remember Mulder's speech to Scully. You know, in such and such an event, FEMA has absolute power. I think it was the movie when they were with the honey and the tents and everything, and FEMA had taken over. But, you know, that Chris Carter, he revealed a lot of stuff, man, way back in the day, in the 80s and 90s. It's mind-boggling.
Wouldn't this make sense, too? Because if you think about it, the election technically would have just been all fake anyway, because it didn't matter who got elected because FEMA was in charge. So your election for your president is just a show for you. And it would line up with what everybody says about Biden not being the president, not having power, not flying on the plane, not doing all the shit. Wouldn't it make sense?
I mean,
and
come on, look at Biden.
That's what
you know. I mean, look at him. If this was your relative, you would not let him babysit your children.
No.
You would expect a phone call every day. Hey, we found him naked in the freezer aisle again. Could you come pick him up? Maybe take away his keys. Don't want to tell you how to deal with your loved one, but I would take his keys.
I bet you, I'll bet you FEMA's in charge. I'll go find the protocol right now. If you guys
but you say FEMA, right. but it's the Illuminati or the people that run the show. Like, it's not like FEMA directly is in charge, because even FEMA, their heads are always up their ass. They can't do anything right.
Yeah,
they need to be guided by a government, and that government's a shadow government or Illuminati or whatever.
Well, it was Brennan. There was some meeting that happened with there's the dude. Look up the guy who's in charge of FEMA right now, because that's who's running this country. I'm gonna tell you. Look at him and go look at what he did. Look at the background of that dude. Seriously, and he was...
I've looked at the background of all these dudes, and they're all CFR agents, basically.
No, I'm talking about specifics here. I'm going to get the specifics on this guy. This guy is no bullshit player. He's not that guy Brownie. Remember that guy? Good job, Brownie, over there at the New Orleans disaster. Good job, Brownie. Yeah, you were a horse trainer. Nice. Yeah, well, good. You really know what to do during a disaster. No, this FEMA guy is not that same kind of weird fool. This dude is a serious dude who was put in there. I'm pretty sure during the Trump administration. Are you looking, Steve? I see your hands moving. You might be typing. Get the name out.
CIA or ex-military?
Yeah, he is. Get his name. I'll do it myself, but I can't talk.
FEMA director?
Yeah, right now. The guy who's a head honcho at FEMA.
Is what the fuck? Joel Doolin.
Take a look at Joel. Take a look at Joel real quick, because I'm going to tell you right now. Take a look at him. He's a serious dude. He's not...
got here currently.
Bruce, go ahead and chime in. You were about to say something about FEMA being in control. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we don't have to use ambiguous words like the Illuminati.
No.
the whole conversation. I get where you're going with that, and then let's just say unknown global power brokers, right? But yeah, FEMA is a way to take the power away, or whatever power the president's office has. It's a way to take it out, and
that's how they. That's how.
Let's go back to Trump for a minute, because you guys were giving me a hard time over that. Look, I defy anyone to put this guy into a role. Yeah, you can find some things he did ultimately that make it look like he's part of a continuity agenda.
You don't understand.
You cannot convince me that fucker was not genuine in 2016 and right up until about 2018.
No, he was
halfway.
He was genuine, dude, but he's fucking playing games with the wrong people. These fucking people checkmated his ass. They said, look.
Yeah.
They said, look, they got all these governors to declare an emergency, man, and they didn't know about that protocol. I'm telling you, there was a protocol set up for this day. When the day came, when it was a blast from heaven and all the electricity went out, what was going to happen? Who's going to run everything? Who's going to take care of it? This plan has been in place for a long time as an emergency, but this time it was used as a weapon to get rid of Trump. Because the minute FEMA took over, that dude had no power anymore. If he had any power, do you think he would have walked away having the keys to the NSA, every keystroke of every person across the face of the earth, and use that as evidence to Supreme Court to support his election allegations?
Yeah.
Why did he just turn his tail and walk the fuck away? Because he wasn't president then anymore. FEMA was in charge. I bet you, man. I'll you know.
There's that other cryptic comment made at a podium. I think it was next to was it Mike Pompeo, or this is a massive drill. And
exactly.
He mumbles, "It would have been nice if you should have told us," right? Like, and he said that on live camera, letting America know, like, I'm as surprised as you are, right? No, you can't. Nothing adds up here. 2 and 2 is 5. Trying to follow. Politics. I'd say right from 2001 onwards, it's just been a mind fuck, right? Just a total mind fuck.
Yeah.
It was semi-sane up until then. I mean, Clinton seemed semi-sane. There was a technology boom. Everybody was making money. Everybody was happy. And then I mean, just look at the Twin Towers coming down, man. That is a declarative language spoken symbolically. It's all coming down. What is it? World trade. It's coming down. You could even tie that into the Great Reset now. That the psychological planning that was a Great Reset event right there, right?
It's the project for a new American century.
Yeah. Well, that would be the American name for it, but I don't think if the Great Reset is what I think it is, I don't think that the patriotism and nationalism that America exhibits will fit into this new global paradigm. And
it doesn't. By its own rhetoric, it doesn't.
Well,
I let one more caller, and let me say one last thing. So the FEMA stuff, as legit as that is, they've been talking about these crazy pandemics for a while. The Event 201 happened in October, but you're right. Maybe FEMA was always their go-to to get all the orders through and stuff for the military, for the planning, for the mask wearing, for all the basically the stage and what it looks like right now for all of us and for the vaccines. And Trump, whether or not, maybe in the beginning he could have been a good guy. This guy has been pretty much deep state though for his entire career. He has made billions of dollars. I had faith in Trump for a moment.
Me
but
too.
Then the whole vaccine pushing and stuff that he did, that's what made me realize, okay, they got to him. They could have threatened his kid, his wife, his whole family. I mean,
I'll tell
what
you,
they did to JFK.
I'll tell you, honestly, when the field for the Republican nomination had 10 or 12 people in it, Jeb Bush was in there. There's a bunch of people in there. There was people in there that were, going to be the one to be considered the contender to go against Hillary. Okay, but for the most part, Hillary was going to win against whoever was coming up against her in that election. So there's emails that support what I'm saying. that were discovered. I didn't read them. I don't know where they came from. I can't validate it or whatever. But let me just put the story out there as a speculation story. How about that? I'm speculating. So Trump and a couple other people were put in the mix as candidates that were supported by people in the DNC. Trump was put in there to make the rest of those front runners look like fools with the kind of shit that he says, to actually play his character that he was on his show, because he was about to come out with a new show, a new version of The Apprentice that was going to come out. So he was going to go do this for a bit, make a name for himself, promote himself, make fun of the rest of the candidates, and then go away. He never planned on being president, is the story, is the way that it goes. So then he started...
Except for he was elevated.
Hold on.
I know that from the Clinton email.
Right, so he started to gain some traction. I mean, people started to believe in him, and he started to get energy back from people, and then he started to believe in himself, and he started to think, wait a minute, I can do something here, man. They love me. The people want me. I can be president. I can be the president. I can do it. And he did it. He fucking did it. Right? But he's still coming from the same place he was coming from when he was started there. So, in other words, he's a lifelong Democrat from New York who does construction, who needs loans, who has connections. He's a billionaire. Show me a billionaire who's not a communist. I'm still waiting for an email. I've been saying it for 6 months. Show me a billionaire who's not a communist. Send me an email, jimmyg27@gmail.com. Hey, who it is and where you calling from?
Hey, this is Shouting at Cubs.
Hey, what's happening, man?
What's going on?
You got a question for Steve or for Bruce or?
Yeah, I got a question for Steve. When I first met Steve years ago, he had a bunch of Green Party people in his channel, and he was promoting that junk. And I got live stream.
So the Green Party, what do you mean? You mean as a political party? So like there's libertarians, Greens, Republicans. So Green.
The Green Party, its origins is in Germany.
Oh, I see. I understand. So that's a different Green, but the Green and the Green Party that was started in Germany. Yeah. The Green Party that was started in Germany during the time of Hitler. That's
so I've had.
Well, hold on a second. No, hey, hold on. Hey, Steve, hold on a second. Are you talking to me? What do you mean? That's what they all say. You talking to me?
About how different the Green Party in Germany.
I didn't say jack shit about how fucking different something was. All I was asking for is you to clarify what you meant. Do you want my opinion? Are you asking me my opinion about the Green Party?
Oh, no.
Okay, you're talking to Steve then.
Are you asking me mine?
Yeah, I wasn't really talking to you, Jimmy. I was talking to...
I think the Green Party is a limited hangout party like basically every other third party in the country, certainly the leftist ones. Ian Schlackman, who was on my show, wasn't a Green Party candidate for president the first time he did a solo interview on my show. At the time that he did, I was a delegate for Adam Kokesh, who was running for president as a libertarian. I had Dario Hunter on my show, who wound up running for president as an independent after leaving the Green Party in disgust. In fact, I had Ian Schlackman back on my show specifically to expose the Green Party for the way that they brutally rigged their 2020 primary, far worse than what the DNC did to the Democrats. It got me an angry letter from a man who is no longer with us, Kevin Zeese, because Kevin was directly called out both in the interview with Ian and in the interview with Dario Hunter, where he was announcing his break from the Green Party because of its corruption and going to run as an independent. So I've had a couple of incredibly disillusioned Greens who lined up to expose the rot within that party and what is referred to within the Green Party as the Green Power faction, which at this point would be Margaret Flowers and AMC, the Colorado state chair. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I do remember the initials. You're welcome to go review those if you like. I don't advocate for politicians.
My experience was, at that time, you say this now, but my experience was that at the time, I got shouted out of the chat. Basically, I had to come back.
I said it then, like it's time stamped, homie. You can go check.
Right, but I mean, at the time, the basic information I knew about the Greens was the very second thing that they ever lobbied for in their existence was the legalization of pedophilia.
And that is fucked up.
So, I mean,
is that part of, real quick, is that part of anybody's current platform?
Rambler.
Pardon?
Well, I mean, this stuff goes way back. I mean,
is that part of anybody's platform currently, and is it part of the Green Party's platform since it showed up as a let's kind of co-opt the lefties in a limited hangout fashion, and we'll run a person for president every 4 years, but we're gonna wait until like we're formed for a long time before we even run a candidate, and then it'll just be to gain some national attention because we're too fucking lazy and ill-equipped to run candidates at the local offices. Like, at what point did that? And that's fucked up, dude. And if you're familiar with the show, you know that we've done a lot of shows about exposing all of the connections about the various child rape trafficking networks that exist, not just in the U.S. but internationally. So I'm a little bit like was I mean to you and you're just waiting for the opportunity to call, or like what? I don't get it.
No.
Yeah, I'm not really getting it either. But listen, hey.
I mean, I had to come back with all the documents about how the party got started. I mean, you can't.
Well, that's shitty, but I don't know why you're like what I have to do with any of that.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Hey, check this out. We got another caller, bro. So do me a favor.
All right.
Okay.
Fine, yeah.
Just do me a favor. Stay there. I'm just gonna I'll put you on hold. I'm not hanging up on you. Just stay there. I think he hung up. All right. Go ahead. 36.
Hi.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. My name's Ann.
Hey, Ann. Nice to have you. It's nice to have you. I hope you're going to bring a little bit of sanity back. We only got about 6 minutes left, but come on in.
I don't know if I'll do that, but
Okay.
I do have a few questions.
Okay.
First one is, I've noticed since this COVID thing started the March before last, was it kind of reminded me of how people that have mental illnesses are already treated and have been treated for, I guess, generations, centuries or however long it's been in Western civilization. So I'm probably not going to bring sanity because I have been, just to let you know, I have been diagnosed bipolar for a long time. And I notice how, you get in trouble, you get your rights taken away when you have the wrong think, when you say the wrong thing. If a person just kept their mouth shut and didn't say what was going on with them, most of the time they wouldn't be thrown away and their rights taken away and forced medication and all sorts of terrible things
Mm-hmm.
that can happen. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think that the mentally ill or supposed mentally ill, because a lot of times those are people that just go against the grain of, society.
Right.
And a lot of them were like intellectuals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that because we've let them go and not helped, defended them, the mentally ill or labeled mentally ill, do you think it's given a window of opportunity for now the powers to be to treat everybody on that scale?
Yeah, and they just used that as that was what we were trying to get to at the beginning of the show, was there was a guy that was arrested here in Santa Cruz over these measures, and he was thrown into jail without bail while they could determine whether or not he was sane enough to stand trial. And this guy was doing group protests with people and not wearing a mask, and he went down to Los Angeles and filmed some hospitals with empty beds and talked to some people, in the industry, and found out it wasn't like they were saying it was, and he got some tape on it, and he ended up being declared, sane enough to stand trial about 15 days ago, and they let him out. But they didn't necessarily have to let him out. I mean, I think there was so much support that came in, Steve. I think people showed up at the courthouse and all this. I mean, let me just say, over the years that I've been involved and been around this alternative media and alternative radio, I've seen actual people be arrested and thrown into, the insane asylums, just because they believed that 9/11 was an inside job. They couldn't get anybody to help them either. They were sitting there on the air for years and got thrown in to the hoosh, and there they are. And nobody knows what happens to him, and then people just change the channel, and that dude's probably still sitting in there somewhere. So because
as soon as you get that label, it's really effective, because it totally wipes out any of your credibility, and it puts an instant label on you for life, like the Scarlet Letter or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
And a lot of their terms that they're using for COVID-19, like lockdowns and social distancing, and I'm sure people that have been in prison and stuff like that, they probably feel like I do, like there's some sort of correlation between how people who have gotten their rights taken away, often unjustly, how now they're just broadening the scope, and making it. And it's not even, of course, as you guys know, it's not just this country. It's like a worldwide concerted effort to do this. And then the other thing, if I still have time,
we got about 1 minute, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if you guys have read that book called Generations by Strauss and Howe.
No.
And it's really amazing. I totally suggest getting it. I heard about it. I'm probably older than you guys, like in the early 90s. And my brother and I, my brother has passed away now since then, but we used to be like, oh my God, we totally talk about the book. And we were like, and it basically warns you about this time now. It's totally amazing. The two authors, Strauss and Howe.
We're out of time. We're out of time.
Oh, okay. I recommend it. Generations. Take care, guys. Okay, bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow night.
Awesome.
Well, that we are off the network. We're gone over there. And we got 30 people in the chat room over here. We got some dude over here, I'll call it Advancing Liberty or something. I don't know where he went. He was trying to bust my chops earlier, was saying something. I caught him making a couple of comments. I'm here now. If you want to make some comments, dude, I'll be happy to, chat it up with you. I think your name's Advancing Liberty, I think is your name. You were saying something about me being butthurt?
Wow. What was that dude taking the Red Cape bull run at Steve there? I mean, what the fuck was that?
What's that?
I don't even know.
No, hey, whoever that was, whoever called and hung up, I didn't want you to hang up. I just wanted you to mute up so we could take that next call. So, listen, everybody over on YouTube, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to stick around for a bit? Because I need to go have a cigarette. Okay, well, because I need to go have a cigarette. So, and I can't do that and be here.
I can stick around for a minute.
Okay, yeah. Why don't you guys want to hang out? Let me go have a cigarette, and then I'll come back. And is the caller?
Stephen, I'll chop it up while you get your nicotine, man.
All right. Is the caller still there? Caller, are you still there? She's gone. Okay. Well, the caller's gone, so there you guys go. And you guys can't answer calls while I'm gone, so there's no danger.
No danger.
Yeah, because
I have a call-in show.
No, I know. So I just mean danger in the sense that I want to keep my YouTube channel. So.
Oh right. Well, there is that. That's fair.
So you guys go hog wild while I'm gone, and the next thing I know, I got 3 strikes and I'm out. Anyways, I'll be right back. You guys, you want to jump in, Bruce?
We'll get it done, buddy. Don't worry. We'll do some quality YouTube in here for
nice.
You, in your name.
There's 33 people over there, so just so you know.
That's a good number.
I know. All right, so I'll be right back.
We got 25 on the Rockfin right now.
Sweet.
Too.
Hey, Rockfin, what's happening? I didn't know you guys were over there.
Let me get to know Steve. Let me get to know Steve a little bit better. Yeah. Steve, I don't know you that well, man, but it's absolutely fascinating being on air with you.
Oh well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've enjoyed the couple of times that we were on together, Bruce.
Well, in the words of Colonel Frank Slade in Scent of a Woman, you haven't really met me yet. I'm just getting warmed up.
If
I was half the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place. But no, I like the way you think. I like the way the things your heart gravitates to. It seems to be a very balanced, spiritual sense of what justice is. I agree totally. And
cheers, bud. I do think that I was just saying this yesterday in a voice call. Sorry to cut you off, but that all of the isms that are being thrown at us right now are broken solutions for broken people who aren't interested in, aware of, or even know that they need to heal.
Yes. Healing is a big part of what's going on now for those who are going to survive what's coming. And a lot aren't. They're going to do themselves in. I
was really glad Ann brought up mental health.
Oh, people are losing their shit, man. The problem is nobody's sane to begin with, but the container we've lived in for the last 30 years has permitted insanity on a wide scale. And now as the pressure is being elevated and people are forced to contemplate their existence simply as a human animal with 2 feet on the earth and not just a citizen of some government they believe has taken care of every problem that's been in their life since they were born in the 50s, 60s, or 70s, that when that comes crashing down, and that's part of the psychological assault of the Great Reset. But they're not going to invalidate the concept of governance. They're going to bring it back in a more draconian fashion, and they're going to say this, basically this free-form American-led capitalist world has been a disaster. They're already saying it. The fucking governor of the Bank of England, who was poached from Canada, where he served a 10-year tenure. Yeah, Carney, Mark Carney. Guy's writing a book calling capitalism evil is the word he used, Steve. Evil. Right? It's got to change. Now, we talked about this once on air before, but I find it absolutely astounding. Where is democracy? Why are we not discussing this? Like, why is Klaus Schwab's book so fucking amorphous? What is the Great Reset? What is it economically? What is it socially? Am I supposed to be comforted by you'll own nothing and never be happier? What I mean,
right.
what? It's fucking Brave New World. What was the name of the drug they had in that book? Sonoma or something like? Yeah, Soma.
Soma. So there's a couple of different components, and you know this, but what they're trying to sell isn't communism, it's stakeholder capitalism. That's their word for it, or their term for it. Stakeholder capitalism. You and I, Bruce, we're stakeholders in this great human experiment. And because of the way that we had done capitalism, that hasn't been equitable. So we need to reset the way that we look at this, and we need to realize, Bruce, that you and I are stakeholders. Not that we hold any of the resources, but that we have a stake in their continued production. Not that we get to enjoy that. We're going to get fed from a tube while we have our virtual existence in the cloud.
Yeah.
But we'll have our virtual family and our virtual dog and our virtual relationships and all, you know, it'll be just lovely. But there's a fourth industrial revolution component too, and that is the Agenda 2030 smart city, mega city, Internet of Things. Everything is on the 5G grid, working towards 6G by 2030. That's the complete commodification of nature. That is surveillance of every living organism down to the cell and what is inside the cell, down to the nanoparticle, because this is currently being done by and tested by fucking little nanobots. There's a whole oh man, let me pull
I think Jimmy's really onto something with the concept of cognitive liberty as well. Call me crazy, but I think these fuckers have figured out the fourth dimension, the astral plane. I think technologically they can go into it and speak back into our heads. Okay?
Yeah, well, yes, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I mean, I did extensive research into alien abductions, and they do happen, but 99% of them, they're government. It's all government. Billy Meyer is right. It's all government. They're, you know, so how can they do that? How can they get you out of your house and your wife doesn't wake up, and, you know, how can they put things in your head, and how can they do all that shit? Well, they've been researching this stuff since, well, in our timeline, let's start it at the Nazis, okay? The German party. And, you know, the Thule Society and all this sort of crap, but it's really hitting ahead. You know, when I look at the planning and I look at the tracks they laid down for shadowing this, like Aldous Huxley, man, I got to be neutral about this, and I got to tip my hat. These fuckers are efficient, man. They've called the last 100 years like Babe Ruth pointing to the left stands where he's going to hit his home run, and they did it. You know, I mean, like, how do you compete against something like that? How do you fight against something like that? When the rallying point is a bunch of people, you know, sitting at home watching Netflix and trying to cope with the world and stay alive. How you going to muster a force that can counter this in any way, shape, or form? Very difficult to predict. Very, very difficult to predict. I wonder how long I'll be able to stay where I'm staying now in the Talamanca Mountains before they start just deciding they got to move everybody into cities, whether they like it or not. And
well, I mean, if you read Agenda 2030, it does say that if, you know, the like few pockets that aren't on board are going to be essentially left behind.
Yeah.
So
I would rephrase that to left alone.
I mean, here's hoping here's hoping, because that's we're all about establishing mutual aid networks and trade networks, and we're all about like fucking having, you know, connected, decentralized, autonomous, you know, not organizations really, but just fucking communities that talk to one another in terms of, hey, we've got a lot of this, do you need some?
Yeah. So I read a couple articles from the Santa Cruz Sentinel about our friend Mr. Rodriguez there, and I
How'd you get around the paywall?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm accessing it from Costa Rica. They know I'm.
Maybe. I gotta change my VPN when I.
Yeah. There's a lot of sites that you can access internationally better than you can domestically. It's mind-boggling. So they're thinking, hey man, if somebody in Costa Rica wants to read the Santa Cruz Sentinel, by all means, let them. Right.
Yeah.
But if you're living in Santa Cruz, pay up, motherfucker.
Right.
We got to pay our reporters. But I was reading up about this Rodriguez guy, and I follow legal matters quite closely. I worked very closely for 3 years on a nonprofit on a book about a wrongful first-degree murder conviction in Canada. I worked with the Innocence Project. I went to their annual meetings and their Christmas parties and everything. I got to know all the top defense lawyers in Toronto, and I have never in my life seen a situation like I read in that Rodriguez story. He was charged with basically misdemeanors and public mischief and denied bail.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get denied bail for misdemeanors? I mean,
so being denied bail is sort of par for the course right now. Bruce, I mean, my friend Christopher Doyen, Commander X, he's being held without bail. There's a guy named Daniel Baker who was the first pre-crime arrest that we know of, who was arrested January 15th, who's still being held on held without bail on charges of a crime he may commit. There have been multiple pre-crime arrests. There were. You know how many people reported on this from the time that that Bill Barr came out and said, you know, we need a way to stop these crimes before they start. What if there's a mass shooting, like multiple mass shootings, you know? And then 3 weeks later, there were multiple mass shootings within the same 24-hour period, even though they weren't really technically mass shootings. They were reported as such, and they were hyped up as such so much that's what everyone heard. And Donald Trump came out and said, we've got to be able to give law enforcement the tools to scour the deepest, darkest corners of the internet in order to stop these heinous crimes before they start, before they have the opportunity to occur. And then, wouldn't you know it, just down the road, they announced that by January 1st, 2021, the Department of Justice will have a pre-crime division, and Daniel Baker is the result of that, as well as a number of other people whose names I don't know but should. That's a real thing that we have now.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that's an act. That's really just the National Defense Authorization Act, unnamed. That's the powers given to them in the NDAA, right? You can be seized and black-cited without any notice, no phone call to your relatives, anything.
Yeah, as long as it falls under the umbrella of terrorism, your constitutional rights are suspended, as well as habeas corpus.
Yeah, and that's quite an oscillating definition now. Terrorism. I mean, anything they want to make.
It gets bigger every year, my friend. It gets bigger every year. Did you see what Joe Biden's administration is calling terrorism?
No, what?
I'm pulling up the report right now.
Is it related to going to church and stuff like that?
I mean, yeah, Jesus, it may as well be. But what constitutes a domestic terrorist is like 85% of the country.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Do you think that your government, here we go. Let me pull that up into a new tab and make sure that we can all get a good look at it. You can get along about it. There we go. That's much better. And share. And there we go. So, take a look here. Anti-government, anti-authority, violent extremists, DVEs, that's domestic violent extremists, with ideological agendas derived from anti-government or anti-authority sentiment, including opposition to perceived economic, social, or racial hierarchies, or perceived government overreach, negligence, or illegitimacy. I'll read that again. You are considered an anti-government, anti-authority, violent extremist, a domestic violent extremist if you have an ideological agenda derived from anti-government or anti-authority sentiment, which includes opposition to perceived economic, social, or racial hierarchies, or perceived government overreach, negligence, or illegitimacy. Now, Bruce.
Yeah.
I don't know about you personally, although you did expatriate to Costa Rica, so by that I can infer that you at least were over the cold.
Yeah.
But your government sentiments, I don't know, nor would I assume. But however, I do know a number of Americans, and that describes everyone. That describes everyone. The only people that doesn't describe are the people who are being paid by the people in power to say nice things about the people in power, and it probably describes them to a T too, Bruce.
Anti-authoritarian sentiment encompasses the American Revolution itself, the founding spirit of the country. Right?
Exactly.
Mind-boggling, man. Mind-boggling.
You would have to shed patriotism in order to pass their not an anti-government, anti-authority DVE checklist.
Steve, can we circle back to the beginning of the show when you were talking about that group, the Something Boys in Santa Cruz?
Oh, the Boogaloo Boys. Well, as far as I know, there isn't a chapter of the Boogs here in Santa Cruz. The only one I know personally, the only Boogaloo Boy that I know, lives in, like, Detroit.
Wow.
But he knows, he knew exactly what I was talking about when I brought it up the other day when he was on the show. But I mean, what do you got?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what they are. I didn't know that they're a white racial group, or what is it? Patriotic centered, or
no? They are in fact very, like, most of the people that are there are like libertarians or voluntarists or agorists, like much more certainly anti-duopoly. But they, I don't want to speak for what their ideology is, again, because I've only met the one. I know that they're very, very heavy on this is decentralized. Nobody speaks, for everybody. That's not how it works. They believe that you should be able to open carry. They believe in their Second Amendment. They believe that they believe that you have the Second Amendment in order to make sure that the First is working the way that it's supposed to, as well as the rest of them. Very, very liberty-minded, not very large centralized state fans. You know what I mean? And this is just what I've gleaned from, and I've done, the one dude that I know that is a Boogaloo boy, like I've been on his show a couple of times. He's been on my show a couple of times. When I went to Washington D.C. in March of this year, with a group of, I think, 7. He stayed downstairs in the Airbnb. He made me a custom Guy Fawkes mask. And it's adorable because he gave me an anonymous mask with a cartoon rendition of my face on it. So the anonymous mask has my face on it. It's hilarious.
That's funny.
But I mean, that guy, Magnus, 100%. The dude is his show's called Unity or Death. He's pretty fed up with the Libertarian Party right now, but he was trying to launch like the Unity Caucus. Is very, very much on board with a more like 99% oriented fucking citizen-led movement to regain agency over a aspirational representative republic.
We got a musical background there, yeah.
It's gonna happen soon, man. It's gonna happen.
But again, that's just what I know from him. If you want to see how fucking weird and goofy these dudes are, go to 4chan, go to K. I'm sorry, it's an experience. Just shit posting, fucking frequently faded, like just fucking goofballs who also love guns and fucking and self-determination and informed consent. And there's also shitbirds there that probably fucking want to murder people. And there's also probably racists there. And there's also probably, in fact, I know there are gay people there. And there's also definitely like people of color there. It's not, like it would be hard to pin it down, but what it isn't, from what I can tell, is a hate group. And they've provided security for Black Lives Matter. They provided security for an event, a fucking, I think it's like the Feed the Poor tour or something. Something like the Feed the Poor tour needs security because there are people, lots of times with badges, but following orders, who get really mad when you feed homeless and hungry people and give people in poverty things that would help their immediate life situation. Big mad.
Yeah.
It's weird. Food Not Bombs is a domestic terrorist organization, according to the FBI. Food Not Bombs serves vegetarian and vegan meals to homeless people and anyone who shows up. If you're hungry, rain or shine, drunk or sober, Food Not Bombs will give you a hot meal once a day. So they're guaranteed. Terrorist organization, Bruce.
Yeah, mind-boggling, man. Mind-boggling. Now, what kind of resistance do you guys see honestly forming? You know, I could talk about what's going on in Costa Rica, but I don't think or Central America generally, but I don't think anybody's really interested. But like, at what point do you think this is going to hit critical mass? And even, you know, Karen and Ken in the suburbs are going to go, "This is fucked. We got to fight." Right? This is tyrannical. This is some Tiananmen Square shit right in America. How far? That's scary.
I don't think no one's gonna do jack shit until everything just starts coming apart, and then it'll look like fucking Beirut or whatever. It'll look like Syria.
People are just gonna goose step into the concentration camps, the FEMA camps.
Yeah, because the new Saturn symbol will be the guy who didn't get the vaccine. You'll have to do something where you'll have to display to everyone that you are one of them, and your cell phone's going to do it. It's going to tell everybody who's within 6 feet of you that you are a dirty, filthy, anti-vaccine, non-mask wearing, government hating, gun toting chaser, activist dude who's gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
Isn't it, man? I mean, because listen, man, they're coming, and believe me, the people that did it, they're like the people that had to do it before you at the initiation, and you're going, fuck that, man, I'm not doing that. And it's like, yes, you are. We had to do it. What fucking makes you special? You mean you know, I didn't want to do it either. Okay, I had a family. You know, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it. Fuck you, man. You better do it. And you know what? From now on, if I see you and you didn't do it, I'm gonna yell, and they're gonna taser your ass and drag you out of the grocery store. Make you wear a mask. I'm telling you, they're going to use it. I mean, they're going to use it as ridicule, banning. What did they used to call that, Bruce? They used to call it shunning.
Yeah.
Shunning. Modern shunning. And that's what's going to happen. And then
this is like an inquisition. But it's being done by the rationalists, not the religious nutters, or the so-called rationalists. And it has all the shape and form of an inquisition, man.
Yeah,
you
man.
Know? What the Spanish did there all over Europe, man, just burning people alive, and you know, nothing really changes in this whole human drama, does it?
Can you imagine somebody knocking on your door and you opening it up? You go, yeah, can I help you? And they're looking like past you. They're not even looking at you. They're looking past you into your house to see what you got going on in there. The people are going to knock on your door and think they have the right to look past you into your house, see what the fuck's going on in there, before they look at you and make sure that put their iPad up to your face and make sure they got the right guy.
Yeah.
And these are the social justice warriors that everybody verbally assaulted for the last 4 years when Trump was in office. They're all contact tracers now. So the blue dot, you're going to get the easy way, and the red dot, you're going to go the hard way for all that shit you socked. So fucking chickens do come home to roost sometimes, huh? That's why it's the best not to talk shit, because eventually you end up eating a shit sandwich most of the time. It's been my...
So, I saw in the YouTube chat somebody asking about the political prisoners from the January 6th Capitol insurrection. And there's really, like, I'm looking for activism around it. I'm looking for people who have been trying to draw attention to it. And there's a blog called AM Greatness, American Greatness, but the website is amgreatness.com. The woman who writes for it is Julie Kelly, and I'm going to reach out to her to see if there is an organization that is like going out of their way to raise awareness about this, or if it's like just her, because there are a number of people who, you know, got rounded up after January 6th who are being held without bail, who are being held as political prisoners. And that's fucking absolutely ridiculous. Like, we know that there are at least 20 protected witnesses in that. We know that the leadership of Proud Boys, of Oath Keepers, of the 3%ers compromised as fuck, if not active duty FBI agents. Then they're like Tario, where they were a fucking rat and an asset going back almost a decade. And yet, the people who were led into, and obvious from where we were standing, but I'm sure if you were there in the moment, and you were there because you thought you were protesting the fact that your president, you know, got robbed, which he did. But then you could get carried away in the moment and not recognize you were walking into a fucking psyop. Go ahead, Bruce.
Are you calling on Orange Motherfucker my president?
No. I'm saying that if you were there in the moment as a you know, legitimate protester, like if you were part of the group that went into the Capitol because you thought you were there to get your democracy back, I could see being caught up in the moment. From where I was, it looked like a psyop.
He was there.
The air, the energy in the place was weird when we were getting ready to leave the ellipse in the first place. Like, the whole day it was weird. And, like, you couldn't live stream from the ellipse, but as soon as you got to where the chaos was, all of your electronics worked perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Except for my phone. My phone had been fucking up since December. Like about almost a month before, where like all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, there's no SIM card detected in your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have to reset it a whole bunch of times or turn it off and on a whole bunch of times. And then it'll start flooding me with texts from like months ago and emails from months ago. And every time, like, I'll miss all of the texts and emails that came in when it was, there's no SIM card here. I'll just never fucking get those. It's cute.
Let me ask you this, man. I was, the day that was going on, I was doing a live stream, and there was probably about 6 or 7 people on the live stream, and I had video going from a bunch of people who were streaming different video feeds. So I had about 10 different video feeds of what was going on, and it was happening live, and we were watching it. That video ended up getting taken away by Google, and I got a strike for it. So it's not up here anymore. You can't see it. But I remember it, and there was this particular part of what was going on that I remember. And I want to ask you about it because you might have seen it, and you might have even been right near it, and you might know who I'm talking about. So there was a place where people got in. Eventually, they broke into some doors that were near where there was a scaffolding. And people climbed up the side of this building, and they got up on top onto this, level of the building. And then they were up there, and then more and more people started climbing up the scaffolding. But in front of the scaffolding, there was these dudes dressed in black. And they had black uniforms on, and they looked like they looked like they had puffy jackets on. Like they were dressed to get into a brawl with crowds. They had that kind of gear on, looked like football gear. They're all dressed in black, but what I noticed is, and it's, you know, it's a law that if you're an officer or you're working for, you know, you're some sort of a police organization, that you have to have your badge numbers and stuff on your black uniforms. Your riot gear all has to have the symbol of the agency that you work for, and it has to identify. But none of these dudes, there was about 30 or 40 of them in a line, and they, you know, they had nightsticks and all that, but none of them had any identifying marks whatsoever on them. And so I was wondering, did you see these teams of dudes dressed in black that did have no insignia there?
So my tech guy, Sleepy Josh, is hitting me up in Element. This sounds exactly like what our buddy, my good friend Jason Burmis, sounds exactly like right where he was. He may have video of that.
Yeah, man, and they, you know, what I noticed about them too is they looked menacing. In other words, they looked real menacing, like they were about to fucking crack somebody in the skull.
I remember him talking about it. I'll ask him if he is. It's fucking almost 3 o'clock in the morning in Iowa right now, so I'm not gonna. No, not now, but yeah. So these guys, I never saw these guys actually hit anybody or do anything. They were just there, and they looked menacing. So, but I mean, they could have just been there for camera purposes. I don't know. Nobody was deterred from climbing up that scaffolding. No. From these guys, nobody got hit with. I didn't see anyone getting hit with nightsticks. But then there was other areas where shit was going on, and I mean that's. I mean, there's a whole cottage industry built around why you got to be behind the lines and get video. You know, how did you guys eventually get to be even anywhere where you could get video? We walked up. You just, I mean, you know, it's like a concert, man. I've snuck into a million concerts. I mean, how many concerts have you snuck into? So we left the Ellipse. I was there with my partner from Action for Assange, Andrew Smith. We left the Ellipse right when Trump was getting really leaning into it. Yeah. You know. So as we're walking out, Rudy Giuliani's fucking crypt keeper ass was walking out the side entrance. We walked by that. There were people. Rudy! It was sick, dude. It was gross. Oh my god. Such a fucking rat. So Andrew had a couple of things to do for the company that he works for. Some clerical shit. So for an hour, we're at the Airbnb. And then all of a sudden, phone starts blowing up. Holy shit, dude, they're for real, gonna storm the Capitol. So we hauled ass down. And when we got there and parked, we walked a block, maybe a block. And then got onto the Capitol grounds itself, instead of going to where the scaffolding was at the side that faces the Supreme Court. We went just the fucking security fence, which was just plastic mesh, was down. There were already hundreds of fucking people up there. So we just walked up onto the steps, fucking filmed around a bunch. We're like, wow, this is weird.
They just thought you were supposed to be there, eh?
Well,
a couple of cameramen right there.
We fit the description.
That's what I mean.
A couple of white dudes with beards. They're like, yeah, you can be here.
Well, the thing is, man, like I was saying earlier, it's like sneaking into a concert, man. You know, it's like I snuck into a Motley Crue concert one time up in over in on the other side of the bay in Concord. I forget the Concord Pavilion, you know. And when we snuck in, there was 50 of us, and we didn't know each other. There's 50 of us, man. We all hit the fence and jumped it, and started running up hills, man. And they had fucking dudes on horseback. Some guys didn't make it in, man, but I did, and so did my buddy. You know what I mean? But I mean, It's got to be when you're at those events. It's not like there's snipers in high grass with fucking scopes waiting to find anybody trying to get over that press line to take some video. I'm sure in the moment, if you act right, you can pretty much walk anywhere. You know what I mean? Especially if you got a tool belt on and you look like an electrician, man. Just fucking go, hey, I'm the electrician, man. And I'm supposed to be here somewhere. Where do you want me to go, man? They'll point over there. Because you know what? They always need an electrician. That's why. If you don't have a job, go join the union, ladies and gentlemen. Become an IBW member. You'll never regret it, and you'll thank me for the rest of your life. Trust me, it's a good trade. But anyway.
All right. On that note, I gotta go, guys.
Yeah, let's go. And then before we,
All right,
and here we go. Right now, we'll go. Have you ever heard of a dude named Rain Wolf?
No.
No? Okay, here he is. He's playing a song called Old Man, and he'll play it as we go out. So we'll see you guys later.
Something got old man.
This is one man, one guitar. Rain Wolf. Here you go.
You. I said, oh man, yeah. I'm too young to die. Yes, are you?